Hello everyone, I'm Diego Scotti, CMO of Verizon, and it's great to be here. This is my first E3, so you might be wondering why am I here and why Verizon is here at the industry's biggest gaming conference. Well, let me tell you, this past year changed everything, including the world of gaming. The pandemic sparked a massive growth for the industry. New players came in droves, and for many, gaming took on new meaning. It was a source of comfort, a creative outlet, and a means of connection. In fact, we estimate that 5 out of 6 people in the US have played a video game at some point in the past 6 months. That is amazing. And this growth has propelled the gaming industry towards massive new creative opportunities and cutting-edge ideas. Gamers know better than anyone that cutting-edge ideas demand new technologies that can keep up. And that's where Verizon comes in. Because here's the thing. In our increasingly fast-paced, interconnected world, we need technology that can transform every aspect of gaming. Technology that is not limited to a single console or platform. What we need, it's a network, and that network is Verizon 5G Ultra Wideband. That is why we're here today, to tell you about Verizon 5G Ultra Wideband's high speed, low latency, massive capacity, and the power of mobile edge compute, or MEC, and how Verizon is powering a gaming revolution. We're going to talk about 3 gaming communities that will benefit the most. The first community is the developers who create the games. We'll see how developers can make the most graphic-rich multiplayer games ever created. And immersive gaming formats like virtual reality can come to life in whole new ways. The second community is the sports teams who play them. We will look at how players can download games in seconds, and data-intensive multiplayer games typically reserved for consoles can now be played on mobile. And third is the community of fans who engage with them. Fans can stream games on the go with no additional downloads or consoles needed. So in all these 3 areas, Verizon 5G Ultra Wideband is the innovation that makes other innovations possible. Let's take a look.
Действительно новое.
Wow, the 5G gaming revolution is on. 5G Ultra Wideband and mobile edge compute are literally game changers for this industry.
Это где, на Твиче ограничил? На Ютубе должна была в 7 часов.
EA, Team Liquid, and Riot Games. It's an amazing group. All the games, all the programs, the hardware being announced here at E3, all of them require a powerful network. And Verizon 5G will take all of them to the next level. We're talking about capabilities that include speeds that can reach up to 4 gigabits per second, latency measured in milliseconds, the potential to support more connected devices than ever before, and smaller handsets with extended
15
battery
июня.
life.
15 июня.
Incredible. I'm so excited. To
На
bring this to
Ютубе
life,
завтра получается.
let's see how 5G will change everything.
Все на тебя открыл. Я просто не видел, что там завтрашнее число стоит. Так, ну это, я так понимаю, облачный гейминг, да? Во всей красе. Прям как в Kingdom Come. Здорово, Инкогнит. Да не знаю, я так всю жизнь играю, вроде нормально. О, киберпанк показывают. Это просто типа оператор связи пропиарил свои 5G. Да, давайте поговорим об этих людях. Это реклама, это самое лучшее и интересное, что было. Ну, слушай, ну мой списочек... Ну, мой списочек с тобой поспорит. На самом деле. Вот как-то модно, что-то я заметил, все ноют, что E3 кал. Но я не спорю, E3 кал действительно так есть, но игры, при желании найти игры для себя, ты их найдешь.
It's a technology that's having a huge impact on those game developers that Diego mentioned.
Так вот как Mac расшифровывается. Mobile Edge Computer.
Or on the device itself into the edge of the network, where those capabilities are most needed for low latency performance. In 2020, Verizon became the first company in the world to launch MEC. We did that with Amazon Web Services Wavelength.
А, стоп. Mac-то это Mac, а это MEC. Edge это на E, да? Да, могли бы. Но это концентрация. Я ничего против E3 не имею. Мне, например, нравится. Мне только не нравится, что слишком много болтовни. Есть же на YouTube видосы, где объясняют, типа, что изначально из себя E3 представляла. Что это больше сходка разрабов самих, сходка каких-то технических инноваторов.
Not only that, truly immersive gaming in formats like virtual reality can be enabled. And that reduces the lag and the jitter in the experience that may have prevented the adoption of VR in the first place. This technology also provides a platform for hardware
концентрация коммерческого гейминга. Но они-то в чем виноваты? Не они такие, мир такой. Все, что происходило там 30 лет назад с играми, все привело к этому. Мне кажется, те, кто сейчас делают игры, они даже не в состоянии как-то повлиять на развитие.
Thanks to 5G ultra-wideband, even the most visually complex cloud-based games can come through beautifully on any user device, just as their creators intended. Developers can now focus on making the best games.
Сегодня индюшки
They
будут
can
какие-то.
rewrite the rules for creating eye-popping, graphics-rich, multiplayer action without worrying about hardware or network limitations. So, now that we've
Я, правда,
lifted
не
the
понимаю,
creative
почему
limitations for
типа
developers, I want
5G,
to shift gears to talk about the second community being impacted by
как в
the
ЭЦГ.
power
Ну,
of 5G.
какие-то подпольные игры наверняка присутствуют, закулисные какие-то приколы.
With access to Verizon 5G ultra-wideband and mobile edge compute, new
Электричество.
games can be played with higher fidelity and lower latency,
Сегодня у
creating
нас
new opportunities for esports leagues, especially mobile
Verizon, потом Television, потом Take-Two, GTA 6 Hype, потом Mythical Games, Indie Showcase в 10. Вот Indie Showcase интересно. Freedom Games, хер знает, что такое. Ивен еще заценим, что такое. В планах посмотреть все, конечно. Не знаю, парни, если у вас есть дела посерьезнее, то можете смело ими заниматься, в принципе.
Serving as their West Coast headquarters, home to its League of Legends teams, and place to co-create the future of esports engagement and content. Since then, we've expanded our capabilities to include
Ребят, на весь мир какая у них будет классная игра.
cutting-edge volumetric capture and a space for player analytics. We are taking it to the next
Трубят
level,
наверняка, просто
exploring
трубочки
how
у них
5G
поменьше.
ultra-wideband network can enhance player performance, enable new fan connections, and empower the next wave of gaming and esports experiences. Let's see how.
I don't think any other organization or company has what we have here at the Verizon 5G Lab.
It's the first in the world, so it's really exciting to be a part of something so
Извините, что я
innovative
хаваю,
and seeing
кстати,
where
ребят.
it can take esports.
Verizon is definitely elevating the game to the next level. My name is
Надеюсь,
Emily
вас не
Garrido.
сильно
I go by Emilite in
триггерит.
and I'm the team captain for Dignitas's all-women's Valorant team. We have everything that we need here. We have
Dignitas, они
training pod
живы
rooms
вообще?
if we
Они...
wanna connect with our
Чё
fans
они
on a
вообще? В
personal
какой
level,
дисциплине-то они?
bootcamp rooms so we can really get down
Нет,
to
тебе
business
прощения.
and prepare for
Очень
tournaments.
жаль.
It's really nice to have the gaming center here and our own little personal streaming pods and basically have one-on-one conversations with all my viewers. My full name is Carolyn Noquez. And in the gaming
Я заметил,
community,
что многие
I am known as
киберспортивные
Barstar.
организации
I am a
строят вот
content
такие,
creator for
типа,
Dignitas, and I was formerly a professional player on the Dignitas CS:GO
ну, как
female
назвать, хабы, не хабы, типа... Как это называется в киберспорте-то? Вот вылетело слово из головы. Буткемп его. Где типа кабинки какие-то стримерские, еще какая-то дресня. Типа 100 Thieves, по-моему, я видел их дом. Dignitas тоже что-то сделал. Liquid, по-моему, тоже есть.
Mobile games utilize either processing on a phone or processing in the cloud.
Подписывают стримеров и садят их в будку.
Is going to completely change that paradigm. The lab is a fantastic place for us to partner with game developers to learn how they want to build their games in the future in order to take advantage of our network. So consumers will be able to have multiplayer augmented reality games.
Нет, что это была такая команда, я знаю, они неплохо выступали, но в какой-то момент они сдохли. Сейчас-то они существуют вообще? Кайф.
To see Verizon really taking it to the next level. So innovative and always thinking of ways of how they can make it better. How can they make the connection better? How can they make your gaming experience better?
To me, what's really exciting is when we bring in creative people who are given access to this technology and they come up with an idea that we never would have thought of. And we're just at the beginning of how 5G is going to impact games.
Emily, Art Star, thank you so much for that. I am so excited about the possibilities
Да
of
нет,
the
не
gaming
истинный.
center.
Да,
I'm going to turn it back over to Diego.
истинный киберспорт, он в соревновании. Кто там что выигрывает, кто сколько зарабатывает, это уже не киберспортивный вопрос, так сказать. Спорт, игровой спорт, это в большинстве своем противостояние команд. Достаточно просто не искать чего-то большего за этим и просто наслаждаться.
is so unique. There's no other sport that has the same real-time personal connection. And just like the players, these fans want innovation too. And to create the deeper engagement,
Как я говорил, мне вот достаточно киберспорта по доте. КС можно посмотреть, если что-то хайповое происходит. Но что-то к КСу я охладел. Как сам играть перестал, так в принципе. Ну, раньше из игр я подхватывал что-то, какие-то раскидки, мувы по карте, еще что-то. Перестал играть, соответственно, и неинтересно стало смотреть. Большой. Ну, это уже вопрос медийной личности. Что тебе же интересно посмотреть интервью с Симплом, еще что-нибудь. Понятное дело, если бы Симплу денег за это не давали, он бы, в принципе, нахуй всех слал.
This synergy between Team Liquid and the community lends to a critical connection, one that shapes who we are. And we've only just begun to scratch the surface of what's possible when it comes to community engagement and sharing moments around competition, both in person, which we're all looking forward to getting back to, and virtually. Verizon 5G Ultra Wideband is the key to unlocking the future of these experiences.
Тебе даже не интересно, какие люди играют в командах, как они себя ведут, там, как они живут, еще что-нибудь. Тебе тупо интересно посмотреть, как они стреляют друг друга. Типа, не как они пришли к этому, не как они добивались успеха, там пробивались, играли в каком-нибудь селе и все такое.
Thanks so much, Ariel. This is really exciting stuff.
Понятно. Ну вот таких вот, блин, ставочников не уважаю, буду честен. Не понимаю. Если это развлечение, то, блядь, развлекайся и веселись. А если ты, типа, поставил и вайнишь, то нахуй отставилось. Если для тебя это ставки, это заработок, то, ну, блин, удачи. Этого я тоже не понимаю.
Let's look first at in-person events. This year, as live events return, Verizon and Team Liquid will give fans new experiences at the industry's biggest events. We have over 60 stadiums and arenas around the country with Verizon 5G Ultra Wideband.
Кто-то действительно потно анализирует, но насколько я знаю, чтобы потно анализировать киберспорт и ставить, это на это нужно тратить прям реально целые дни своей жизни. На CS лаунже, CSGO лаунже я ставил, да. И на Dota 2 лаунжа ставил. Потом Габен это все прикрыл. Ну как ставил? Типа ширпотреб переводил во что-то поинтереснее, покрасивее. Там, наверное, ничего больше доллара никогда и не крутилось у меня на CSGO лаунже.
VR innovations will allow fans to experience live events together virtually, giving them the best seats in the house. And 360-degree access that puts them in the middle of the action. I can't wait to see what comes from our Team Liquid.
Что-то про какую-то 360 градусов съемку, что ли, говорит? Нихуя не понимаю. Так, я хотел показать, какие нас ждут ивенты сегодня, день, Мификал. Ну я и сказал, да? Капком же тоже сегодня, получается, ночью. И Razer. Мне интересно, что Razer вообще будут показывать. Что они могут показать? Сральное ведро от Razer.
A great example of this was our partnership with Epic to create the Super Bowl 5G stadium in
интервью с Мэл, который у Marple. Но оно такое. Не особо информативное, но достаточно интересно. Качественное просто интервью. Крепкое, нормальное интервью.
The activation featured 4 football-inspired games and a few hidden surprises for players. It was a great demonstration of the power of 5G for gaming with the low lag and highest speeds made only possible by Verizon 5G Ultra Wideband. But 5G doesn't just transform battle royale games like Fortnite. It also changes single player and strategy games. I am thrilled now to invite a friend of mine to talk about how Verizon 5G is amping up the player experience. He is safety for the LA Chargers and a seriously engaged model NFL player, Derwin James. My man.
What's up, my man?
So great to have you.
Thanks for having me, man.
Thanks for coming. You all know this guy. He plays for the LA Chargers.
Yes, sir.
And your home field is the new SoFi Stadium, which is amazing.
Yes, sir.
It was created with the most cutting-edge technology in existence. And I tell you, it is home to Verizon's largest 5G stadium built in the country.
Мне в целом интересно узнать о людях, так сказать, за камерой.
I can't wait to get the fans back out there into the stadium for many reasons. The venue is incredible. The tech is built around is going to totally reshape how we watch and play with the game.
Блин, ну в США, мне кажется, вообще плотно лупится в Madden. У нас-то богомерзкий сокер в ходу в большинстве своем. Говорит, в 4 года начал уже хуяриться в футбол.
As a kid, I created my player. I wanted to have super speed, super size, and of course handsome. So, to be able to be the player I am, it showed a lot of dedication.
That's so cool, and you achieved all of that. I don't know about the handsome one, but anyway, it's a great story. And I'm sure you've seen tons of changes in the game since you started playing, both on the field and also on the screen, right?
Здорово, самый лютый фермер на всей Украине. Или где-то там. Я посмотрел чуть-чуть, как вы там грядки поливаете. И как Stardew Valley цветет и пахнет. Давай, сладкий снов. Если все-таки реально отписать собрался, то такой кайф. Не знаю. Я, походу, что-то не понимаю, что-то не чувствую в этой игре, так сказать.
Authenticity and to what it's like to be on the field. I want to feel like I'm in this moment as a player. I want to feel like I'm out there.
С 2 фолловерами, но я слышал, какими терминами ты оперировал. С чатерсами ты говорил, с випами. Нам этого говна не надо. Так а какого говна нам надо? Говна от Microsoft. Чел просто стоит, вау, вау.
5G. So I tell you, this kind of expansion means that the powerful connection you need for console quality gaming experience on mobile, like the one you want, will continue to grow.
Да мы не про Stardew Valley, мы про Madden говорим. Что Madden? Бич говорит, такого говна нам не надо, блин. На нашей, блин, родной.
With the creativity of the developers of EA. Their team will work with our 5G labs to innovate.
Спасибо, братик. Давай, отдыхай. Разомни там шею обязательно, глазами туда-сюда. Поводи. Не ложись сразу, чтобы кровь побегала и все такое. Нужен футбол, нога, мяч, круглый, яйцевидный. Ватман и игра про Янгтага.
That's amazing. That's amazing. That's literally changing the game. Seeing the networks and improvements created over the last 20 years. I can't wait to see.
Спасибо за совет. Ну я старый, что мне остается? Только советы молодым раздавать, так сказать. Как не стать преждевременно старым.
So, it's so exciting to talk about the new technology and how it is impacting the entire gaming ecosystem across the three big areas of developers, esports teams, and fans, all bringing fantastic innovation to the industry. But today there is also a fourth area.
Это как-то Madden
that is
Mobile,
very
ебать. Я
timely
только что
for
увидел,
us
что
to
там
talk about.
написано на этой большой...
And that is the importance of
Сегодня
supporting
здесь будет стрим
diversity
до восхода
in the
солнца.
gaming
Не знаю, не знаю. Вчерашний дался тяжело.
As technology stretches the boundaries of what's possible, and as the industry grows, the players and the fans are more diverse than ever.
Но вчера списочек
And so
импрувнулся.
a different
Я его, кстати,
sort
опять
of
закрыл.
innovation is required. With this shift, and this is something that is very close to my heart, actions to increase diversity and inclusion within the gaming
Когда
community
будет фильмец,
are
не
more
знаю,
important
братик,
than
не
ever,
знаю.
more urgent than
Какой ты
ever,
старый, еще молодой
especially
мальчик в
those
рассвете сил.
supporting female representation.
Спасибо, мой принц, спасибо.
Diversity has become a major force driving the industry forward. And as the players and their fans
У нас тут игровая
who are consuming
конференция
these
на
products become more diverse, it makes a lot of sense that the people who make the products, so the developers, should also reflect that diversity.
Я так и
I am a
понял.
firm believer that change starts with action.
Не, я-то понимаю, что я не
We are
самый
taking
старый.
action together with Riot Games. In
Поэтому
March,
я с трепетом в
we partnered with
душе
Riot to
слушаю
launch
советы
the
Дэна
Valorant
постоянно.
VCT
Какие-то
Game
жизненные.
Changers Initiative. It is a fantastic program that elevates women and other diverse groups within the esports community. And most importantly, it inspires the next generation of
Там,
players.
кстати, какой-то сайт
So to
есть.
talk more about the need for increased female representation, I am thrilled to introduce now the executive producer of Valorant,
.com, что ли?
Anna Dunlon. Anna, welcome.
Diego, thank you for having me.
It's so great to
Во,
have
вот
you
этот
here.
сайт.
I've never been on the E3 stage
Парни,
before.
берите на
It's so
вооружение.
Well, I'll tell you, that makes us two,
Тут,
because
короче,
this is my first E3 too, but I'm very excited to have you
можно
here,
посмотреть все
especially
трейлеры, и
because
они вон с
you are one of the
картиночкой,
most
то есть ПК,
influential
гейминг шоу,
women
фьючер,
in an
гейм шоу.
industry that is predominantly
Потом еще
male.
ниже тут он
Players,
EA,
developers to heads
или
of
что это,
publishers.
Square Enix
So
был,
I
да?
really was looking forward to this conversation and
А
ask
тут
you,
картиночки
what are
кончились, а
some of
вот
the biggest
Xbox-овская
challenges you
презентация.
see for female players
Держите.
and also for those that are trying to build
У
their
Мелкорукса
careers
сегодня
in tech?
увидел.
It's a great
Нормальная
question.
тема.
It's an important
Ну, если
question,
постфактум,
and I
опять же,
really like that
смотреть
you're
трейлеры,
asking
не
both
в
angles.
лайве.
So when it comes to competitive gaming, women still find themselves at a huge disadvantage.
Я
And
так
it has
понимаю, это какая-то
absolutely
техническая
nothing to do
конфа.
with skill. It's because they can't focus 100% on the game. Instead, they need to spend energy dealing with all the harassment they face. And having experienced it firsthand myself, it can be daunting.
Не, кинодень отсутствовал, потому что в пятницу был саб-день,
And how is that
а
fair?
выходные я не мог
It's not
стримить.
fair. It's not fair at all.
It isn't. And it's something we
Поэтому и не
spent
было
a lot of time
кинодня.
discussing on
Сейчас,
Valorant
что,
and
сейчас
Riot.
какой день
And, you
недели?
know, it's not a
Понедельник.
terribly easy problem to solve,
Понедельник у
but the
нас
problems
что?
we're solving are
САП
rarely
слэш ВИП день у
What I
папаши.
will say is that we're
Как прошло?
absolutely committed to creating an inclusive environment for competition and creating safe opportunities for women to compete without
Так
fear
Дэн,
of
ты тоже не
identity,
старый. Капец, а кто
gender-based
старый
harassment.
тогда?
So that's the gaming aspect.
Соленый один старый.
So interesting and so real. So
Соль-
let me
соль
ask you then,
сыпется.
when we talk about careers, what's the situation there?
Okay, so when it comes to careers in gaming,
Фэнтези.
there's definitely work to be done there as well. I was fortunate enough to have a really impactful mentor early on. I had
Вроде
just started a
соленый
job
это
at a tech
принц,
company,
не
and
кинг,
while
не
I played
король.
games, I had no
Должен
idea
быть
what a
молод,
career
тоже в
in gaming
рассвете
even
сил.
looked like. And then at this gaming company, one of the women I was working
Я
with told me she
молодой
thought I had what it
принц.
took to become a
Блин,
game
как будто рэп
producer.
написал.
I had no
Как ты
idea what a game
смеешь?
producer
А еще
was,
соль не
but I went
стареет,
with
не
it, and now
портится.
20+ years later,
Что
here I
происходит с
am.
солью через 100
And as
лет,
you
допустим?
mentioned, there
Дайте
are not enough
загуглим.
women in the industry, so it means a lot that she brought me with her. I try to pay
Что
that forward to all the women who are coming up after me, but we need more.
Wow, I tell you, your story is so
Соль при
inspiring. And it's the
нагревании
first time that I actually hear you saying it like
через
that. So
100
thank you. And
лет.
it just reinforces how important mentorship is.
Запрос
So,
должен
a
включить.
little bit of a follow-up to the
Соль
previous question,
убийца,
but
опаснее,
how can
чем
both
героин.
the technology and commitments to allyship play a role
Вот
in the
так вот.
changes that we still need to see in the industry?
So I'll tell you, one of the most exciting parts of being a developer is that I get to be part of creating the
Ну
future
все,
of
это, походу,
Valorant.
единственная
My team and I
информация.
spend all of our time
Столь никого не
gaming
щадит,
and
даже
exploring ways to
информация
make
не
player
просачивается
experience
в
even
СМИ.
better. And then we get to go and actually build it.
Понял,
It's
мама говорит, да
really
я
interesting mix of
трепещу, боюсь и
creativity and
ссусь.
engineering. All of the technology you've mentioned on stage today is
О,
impacting how we
давайте
work
с чатиком
and what we're able to
посидим.
create.
В
So
E3-шном чатике.
please keep those advancements coming. When it comes to specific changes that need to be made to protect women in competitive gaming, we absolutely need to keep investing and prioritizing innovations that help fight against harassment. And honestly, the gaming community needs to take a more active
Сейчас
role
Алена
in the
присмотрел все
community that
игрульные
it's creating.
какие.
If game developers can be allies, and I truly believe we can and should, then so can your teammates in
Или
games.
ты любитель смотреть,
And
а
then,
не
we just
играть?
need more women throughout the whole gaming ecosystem. We need an industry-wide commitment around diversity and inclusion, and we're finally starting to see that.
I like the way you said, and I couldn't agree more. We need more women, we need more diversity in the industry.
Капец,
And
пойду
that's
свой
why
смайлик ебану.
we today we're taking
Бам.
it to the next level.
А,
Today,
смотрите, как
we
он
are
быстро
announcing
улетает.
an
Я даже не
expansion
успел
of our
сфокусироваться на
commitment
нем.
to the Valorant Game Changers Initiative. We are
Ой.
launching together today a new
А,
training
нифига, 2
program
минуты еще
dedicated to
слоу-мод.
mentoring up-and-coming female esports casters. The program that is launching very soon this fall will team up them with professionals in the field to provide them with practical tools and knowledge.
Ну, тебя есть контрол, хваленый попробовать. Я еще Дэн
Okay, so
Апокалипсис
this
смотрел,
is
тоже хотел
amazing.
2 части пройти.
Game Changers is all about providing
Согласен,
experience
есть
and
такое.
exposure to women in
Я
gaming.
постоянно про
We
Алису
want to
слышал,
inspire the next
все
generation of
смотрел,
not
как в
only
нее
players,
играют.
but any women who want to build
Что-то как-то
careers
сам
in
не
any
доходил.
aspect of the gaming industry. So this program fits so perfectly with our mission. It'll provide a pipeline of female talent that is so sorely lacking. I am
Если
so
по
glad
чесноку,
that
то
Verizon
хочется
is
в
not
каждую
only
игру
acknowledging
поиграть,
the
в которую
issue,
там
but
Дэн
taking
играет, в
actions
которую
to push it.
папаша играет.
Well, I love
Даже
what
в
you
тех
said,
сраных
but
чибиков
the
у
reality
папаши
is
я
that
хотел
no
бы
one
сыграть.
can make real change,
Потому что как-то, ну,
so we are
ты
equally
вертится
thankful
среди
for your
нас, и мы
support
типа
and for Riot's support as well. Fantastic job.
Thank you.
как-то знаем, о чем
So,
вообще
Anna,
речь.
thank
И
you for being
интересно.
here with us today. Thank you for the great conversation.
Thank you so much for having me, Diego, and honestly, thank you so much for caring about it as much as I do.
It's great to have you. Thank you.
После меня, я
So,
думаю, никому ни во что
Now,
играть не
I have a
хочется.
final big announcement,
Потому что я в каждой
and I
игре
want to ask
абсолютно
Nikki
новое.
to help me with it. So, come on out, Nikki.
Но показываю профессиональный
Yes,
геймплей,
Diego.
конечно.
This is big,
Высочайшего уровня.
and I am so proud to help announce
Недосягаемого.
it. You know, Verizon is deeply committed to building a more inclusive and diverse tech sector. Our work in this space has been going on for decades and frankly speaks for itself.
We are so proud of the work we've done, but we also know that more action
А что,
needs to be
таймер
taken
сломался, что
to
ли?
address
Чё
the
он
lack of female
или было...
representation in gaming
Или
and
еще не
more
дошло, не
broadly
пришло
in
время.
STEM. So today, Verizon is making a new $1
Команда
million
сработала.
commitment to increase female representation in gaming and STEM.
Опа, женская
We are
репрезентация в
creating
гейминге.
the Verizon Game Forward Scholarship. The scholarship is an expansion of the
Школу
Future
открывают
Fund,
какую-то.
our initiative to support
Школа
emerging
5G
female
гейминга.
talent across entertainment and technology.
That's right. And you
Для
know, this
женщин.
fall, Verizon will partner with 5 historically black colleges and universities to provide scholarships to 5 female students at each school who are active gamers and
Всего
also
5
pursuing
женщин
degrees
в
in
5
fields that are
колледжах
tied to
будет
gaming
изучать
development, such as
гейминг
computer
и
science,
разработку
graphic
игр.
design, software engineering. And those 5 schools are
Дизайн,
Dillard,
программинг.
Delaware State, Morgan State, Texas Southern University, and Howard. We'll build
В
tech
Гарварде
centers
даже,
on each of
нифига.
these campuses that will be open to the entire student body. And we'll also
Парни,
provide the
куда
scholarship
документы
recipients
отправлять?
with access to the Verizon 5G gaming
Идентифицирую
center
себя
for training,
как
as well as mentorship.
And I tell you, here's the best part. We are guaranteeing
Hogwarts.
the students internship opportunities at Verizon and with our gaming industry partners. It is these kinds of deep commitments that will help build the diverse talent pipeline the tech industry needs. We are really so proud of this and for the opportunities it will give these women.
Absolutely. And you know, I just cannot wait to see what these students do.
Nikki, thank you.
Не знаю, ну, это, наверное, скорее, да, техническое изучение. Как вообще можно изучить гейминг?
Have clarified why Verizon is here.
Свидетельно мужской
Two
внешность.
big reasons. Number one, technology. Verizon has a vision for how 5G and related technologies will bring an entirely new level of creation and experience of gaming. For the developers, for
Капец, там
esports
резидент
teams,
слиперов
and
нас.
for the fans.
О, ну это мой выход. Бам.
Secondly,
О, и секунда не провисела. Идите, улетела. Прикиньте, вот у них была бы такая штука, как у меня, то что комбы смайликов появляются на экране. Тут бы, наверное, даже пикселя свободного не осталось от всех этих резидент слиперов. Все было бы залеплено слиперами.
Is a sector of bold thinkers, free spirits, and wide open creativity. Verizon wants to support that and empower it even further.
Кстати, возможно, грядет реформа по звуковым командам на стриме. Все-таки я хочу попробовать через Donation Alerts это сделать за баллы.
Welcome back to the E3 2021 caster desk. It's me, it's Jackie, and Jackie.
Ну, непонятно, это получается, будешь нажимать сюда на баллы. Как это будет выглядеть? Нажимаешь сюда на баллы и тут будет типа огромный спам из 1000 команд с командами звуковыми. Не совсем понимаю, как это будет. Вот этого не хочется мне увидеть.
Honestly, they kept on echoing that we need action.
Yeah.
Дискуссии не спамится на экране, у него один смайлик появляется. Там комба какая-то лютая, причем должна быть. Плюс у него комбо-счетчик, по-моему, есть.
Gamers come from all walks of life, and you know, we heard Anna Donlan talking about this a little bit, but sometimes when you're a woman,
да, это я понимаю. Я говорю, я просто не хочу, чтобы там было, ну, опять же, мизерное окошко. Мизерное вот это окошко, которое будет залеплено, там, допустим, ну, за 1000 баллов звуковая команда, да? И типа у меня звуковых команд, ну, там штук 30. Классная функция. Да не знаю, нам все ясно как-то вымерло. Комбо, счетчик. Да вас, блин, никак не забайтишь юзать смайлики-то, вот вы просто не хотите юзать смайлики. Прям так по-свински настолько юзать смайлики. Забыл только 5 команд. А, в Donation Alert? Да? Так мало. Ну, это тогда имеет смысл на выкуп типа какого-нибудь. На выкуп слота какую-нибудь награду. Какое меню, братик? Запоминай, как они. Вон смайл же ты печатаешь, хотя его нету. Вот и печатай все остальное. Soundfuzz 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, ровно 30.
Local blockbuster and compete in getting the high score in different Nintendo games, and I would always win.
I always compare it to like a fight club, you know, underground, like super secret, and over time, you know, it's blown up.
Не знаю, только по-принципски. Не, к тебе вопросов ноль. Хозяин барин говорит. Клауд ты добавил? Нет, не добавил. А надо оно вообще? Надо? Одну награду, да, вместо... Куда просто вписываешь название команды звуковой. Одну награду, куда просто вписываешь. А сейчас что? Сейчас ты не вписываешь? Надо, ну давай. Куда меня отправило?
And now you can legitimately be a kid and tell your parents like, hey, I want to be a professional esport player.
Day to day, I wake up every day and I'm just really happy to get to play games for a living.
There's Fortnite players that are 13-year-olds that I know who have the work ethic and drive and put in the time and effort like a job, more so than even my friends.
Сейчас сразу не так. Зачем тогда награды только передать, чтобы самому чтобы я бота не запускал, чтобы это все делалось через сайт. Потому что бота запускать это дрочь.
When I was a young girl, you know, I was playing 2K a lot, and I never thought I would see myself in the game, and boom, there I am. I'm able to drop 40, 60 with myself and actually look like
ABC, Cloud.
Killing each other, they try to just gain clout. Little child. This sports mixed with video games is like pretty much been me my whole life. Killing each other, they try to just gain clout.
I think that's what makes esports so compelling is that there is an opportunity for anybody.
Ну, пожалуйста. Клауд реанимирован, так сказать. Здесь менюшка команд, кажется, это было такую кнопку, наверное. Да, наверное, что-нибудь есть. Ну, опять, ну, типа... Это не плагин, а просто вот это Streamlabs чат-бот. Опять же, чтобы это работало, надо его запустить. А я не любитель ставить на автозапуск. Типа много этих. У меня на автозапуске, наверное, ничего, ну, ни одной программы и не стоит. Ну, кроме вот этой на звук. Чтобы все подсосалось сразу и все. Типа у меня ничего на автозапуске не стоит. Извините, да можно, я же говорю, я не хочу, чтобы была засрана эта менюшка с наградами. Сейчас там сколько? 6, 12, 13 наград. И это уже, ну, крутить впадлу, например. Считай, под каждую награду будет отдельная... Вот, под каждую звуковую команду будет отдельная кнопка там. Вот и посчитай. Да, это все капризы же, ну, блин. Я думаю, Twitch давно уже дал понять, что им похую, и они будут делать, как они знают, как они хотят. Им никто особо в спину не дышит, поэтому... И я это, в принципе, понимаю.
biggest press conferences, and lots more. Play for All is our yearly online event that combines the excitement and announcements of E3 with charity live streams the following week with special guests who are going to help us raise money for able gamers.
Блин, я понял про что ты. А может быть... Блин, тут... Бейтинг. 致力于为全世界的中文游戏玩家提供专业、精准、迅速的资讯情报。Свои поинты в боте. Тут раньше было с какими-то их местными баллами, типа, которые в самом боте копятся. На Twitch баллами. Блин, они анимированные смайлики сколько делают? Лет 20 уже лет делают. В бейсе в моем не вшито. Должно быть вшито. Как это сделать, чтобы... Плагин? Да нет, какие-то плагины есть. Ну... Плагином считается эквалайзер, который на ФК-сцене. вот эта дресня, которая крутится. Это и считается плагин. Опять же, запиливая плагин к себе в OBS, ты юзаешь ресурс своего компа. А юзая команду через Donation Alerts, соответственно, ты просто источник втыкиваешь. И все уже расперживается с браузера. И что там Amiga написано, я такой, нихуя, браузер Amiga. Сервиса нет. Этого бота нет, ну надо качать прогу. Но в ней функции до хера. Это я только юзаю саунд команды вот эти. Тут, по идее, можно и реквесты, и чаты, и голосование, и ставки. Но сейчас это есть все в Твиче. Видите, что такое массажер для ног какой-то, для пяток? Сканер отпечатков. Говорит, когда я рос, блин. Теперь, да, я говорю, просто капризы. Хочется как-то разнообразить. Именно поэтому что-то удаляется постоянно у меня. Что-то добавляется. Короче, какая-то дедовская консоль. По всему. How would you use Amigo? На, в телек просто пульт. Помните с Wii U эти видосы, где люди постоянно в телек кидали эти пульты? Уже есть для всего этого платформы. Зачем еще платформу делать? Everything we do, we focus on bringing people together and having simple fun. In fact, we've designed our hardware entirely around those two things. So, for example, our controller is really unique. It has a touchscreen on it. It really comes in. Он как-то быстро улетел, как будто никто не хотел, чтобы заметили, что они воткнули сюда Эда Ширан. And then it shows the color of the clam that's going to release the next big bonus pearl. So only that player will get that information. Ну вот Эд Ширан и сидит вроде, нет? Это не он был? Или я с кем-то путаю? Да, там он и сидел. В нарды можно играть на телеке, Армяне врываются в киберспорт. Ну, без негатива, без негатива. Джекбокс. Ну, блин, джекбокс на самом деле в большинстве своем жиже. Там пару есть нормальных. Ну, как-то мы вот поиграли и поиграли, и ладно. Говорит, я могу ходить со своим контроллером и могу с своим контроллером прийти, подсосаться к твоей приставке, и теперь это будет твой контроллер.
Another cool feature that we incorporated is wireless contact charging. So once you're done with your controller and your game's over, you just dock it right back into the base and it charges for you. Another unique feature of Amico is that we have interactive LED lighting all throughout the console itself, the base, and all of the controllers. We also have RFID built throughout.
Блин, прикольно, что что-то делают, но, блин. Чего? Чего? Как... Может, еще и кредитку можно будет прикладывать к своей консоли сразу? Вот тут уже Xbox с PlayStation напряглись, как-то они такого не сделали. Чисто в щель на PlayStation 5 просто провел картой, и нормально. Что, несомненно, является... Да, тут соглы. Ну это, блин, это американцы, гейс. Они реально там собираются всей семьей, Wii U достают, там сдувают с нее пыль, дают каждому по дилдону и начинают там гейминизировать это все. О, это что игру, где Keep talking and nobody explodes.
That you can go print out and hang on your wall. Now, as we all know, the most important part of any video game system are the games themselves. They all have to be super fun to play. And that's where we
И что за вспышка еще была?
In fact, all of our games on our system are highly curated. All of them contain a single and multiplayer or couch co-op mode. And all the games on our system are exclusive or contain exclusive content. Like Retro Reimagine, where we take some of the greatest classic video games of all time, give them new graphics, new audio, add multiplayer and couch co-op. Some of the things we have...
Но они, походу, решили в натуре всех переиграть. Они сразу выдают ремастеры всего вообще, что было.
We have games like Burger Time and Bump and Jump, and even some of the best in television games from the past, like Cloudy Mountain and Night Stalker. We have edutainment titles for kids 7 and under, things like Sesame Street and Care Bears. Now, our original IP category contains brand new games that we've created, a lot of times around our unique controller. Some of those games are platformers like Finnegan Fox, Bomb Squad, Space Strikers, Flying Tigers.
Я, по-моему, на геймбое играл во все, в большинство, что здесь показывает. Ну или что-то около. Естественно, в геймбойном графоне. Блин, а Gravity Defied будет интересно?
Now, our sports and recreational category not only has big sports like Major League Baseball and soccer.
О, сока! Бам, видите, увидели, какая там девятка летела мощная? Во, с детьми-то как раз пул поиграть, в нарды кинуться.
Это база.
База.
Now, I've already mentioned some really big partnerships and licenses like Major League Baseball.
С бейсболом я знаком только по бейсбольным эпизодам в аниме. Больше ничего про бейсбол не знаю и не видел. Он там пишет в чате Джекбокс. Так, ну это они офис свой показывают, как они работают. О, это же червяк со стримхатой. Как его звать? Чел. Офигеть, вчера какого-то чела, вот он, чел какой-то презентовал свою игру. И его выгнали из-за того, что Гейб Ньюэлл прислал какое-то видеообращение. А этот уже стоит час базарит. Project забанен. Фига, что за ссылки, бички, я не понял. Кто там 8?
What I appreciate the most is that he started the presentation with, this isn't like what you've seen before at E3, right? We're doing something different. We're going in a different direction.
Там Valve презентовали. Да ничего не презентовали. ГБН сказал, типа, скоро в Стиме фестиваль демок. Качайте, играйте. Спасибо за внимание, до свидания.
An old Intellivision, a ColecoVision, you know, like I had those as a kid. My uncle would bring them in and we'll play games together. It was always.
Теперь они оба в бомберах, там походу в натуре холодно. Эту девочку бедную в платье поставили, блин, дрожит стоит. Третий порт. Ты прошел? Первый, второй? Я первый не проходил, кстати. По-моему. Второй я только в коопе прошел. А, и в соло прошел.
So all I heard was Earthworm Jim, and I was just like, Earthworm Jim? I haven't heard that in forever. Oh my gosh, my brother and I used to mess with that all the time on Super Nintendo. Absolutely adored it. So I personally think that it's opening up a lot of accessibility. Like, if you purchase this is something that if your friends don't game, you could be like, hey, this is really simple.
Very true. Yeah.
I was gonna say it looks like a phone, but it's kind of like a 2001 iPod. But you know what I mean?
Так они видят карты друг друга.
And I just think it'd be very easy for someone to pick up, and the games are also very accessible as well. So I think that this is something I could play with my parents. All I can think of is Mario Kart. My dad tried to play Wario, and you know that was a slower character, and he was just. It was
Он крутит, и ничего не происходит.
Maybe he could do better with the Amico. So for me, what stood out was definitely Earthworm Jim, and then definitely accessibility.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with it, right? And again, I like the idea that they're presenting something different at the end there. Tommy talking about the fact that we don't look at other people as competition because they're clearly in a different market, right? It reminds me how I talk about Nintendo all the time marching to their own beat, right? When everything started going HD, really, you know, multiplayer focused, Nintendo didn't do that. There's a lot of interesting ideas with it, right? I think obviously talking about it being the party machine is an excellent idea, but then also the fact that,
Я думаю, то, что это будет когда-то стоять на стенде мертвых технологий, я не знаю, там на какой-то выставке. И там перчатка, контроллер, еще какие-то очки, еще какое-то говно.
Yeah, we got haptic. Well, I mean, they were definitely on purpose giving us very many callbacks to the Wii. Yeah. When I saw the little girl bowling, I was like, all right, I know what I'm getting.
20 века. Тебе именно понравилась головоломка или просто как выглядит портал? Talos Principle великолепная головоломка, на самом деле. Интересно. Слышала Power Glove? Ты же мне скидывал сам видос. Где мы смотрели на те очки еще с красным дисплеем, который выжигал глаза.
Look, I love online. I love online, but more couch co-op. I'm all about it in television. Thank you so much for bringing that to light, and I hope it becomes more of a staple with a lot of the big name game companies moving forward as well.
Его посмотрел, мы на стриме его смотрели, братик. Капец. Смотреть видосы на стриме вообще никакого смысла не имеет, походу. Никто даже не запоминает, то, что такое было. Кроме меня, один я страдаю.
The Electronic Entertainment Expo debuted for the first time in front and center in the world of gaming. Lots of things have changed since then. 16-bit graphics have given way to HD
Да, Культуру 3 слушал, да, буквально вчера.
We wouldn't be where we are today without the developments and announcements of those early years. Here's a look back at the first adventure.
Игры? Бля.
It is absolutely no wonder that E3 continued to live on after its very first show. The show was
Анонимус
massive. There
какой-то.
was a surprise console launch. You could get a Killer Instinct character tattoo while you
Фига
played Game
татухи
Boy.
били.
You could try out not one, but 3 VR headsets. And this is all in 1995. So let's take a look through a
На E3 татухи
4x3
били с
lens at what
персонажами.
the first ever E3 was like. May 11th through 13th, 1995.
Так я виноват, что ли, что говно какое-то они выкатили? Неслушабельно.
Electronics Entertainment Expo at the Los
Ну,
Angeles
пусть
Convention
лучше
Center.
стараются.
There was no shortage of games you could just walk up and play, especially at the Atari Jaguar.
Один хуй прослушивания-то записалось
The
им.
Jaguar system would have a booth, but it came in big and even
Копилочку.
showed off a VR peripheral that was still in development. Or you could meet Rayman and try out his new game. This was one of the first times you could get your hands on the game that would eventually become a 45-game series. There's tons to
Ебать
check out
Реймонов.
this booth, including Primal Rage, a violent dinosaur fighting game, White Men Can't Jump, a basketball game based on the movie, and my personal favorite, VLM or Virtual Light Machine. Just walking around the floors, you'll come across Mortal
Почему они
Kombat
так держатся за
putting on a stage
прошлое,
fight,
за то,
go
что
through the
было?
audience. You could grab a photo with Beavis and Butthead or a Klingon, ride Judge Dredd's motorcycle, or even check out the Batmobile from Batman Forever. And of course, there was no shortage of games that you would stumble upon that are worth playing, like the
Both.
legendary RPG Chrono Trigger, Earthworm Jim 2, Resident Evil, Ridge Racer, and unique games like Street Fighter the
Постарались и
Movie Game, and
сделали
a port of the
хороший альбом.
Aerosmith game, Revolution X. There were also plenty of sports
Знаю, не
games in the
знаю.
industry that would explode in popularity.
Мое мнение, что они вообще не старались.
NFL Quarterback Club 96 and FIFA Soccer
И альбом
96,
далеко
which
не
is
хорош.
only the third FIFA game in the now famous series.
Ты свидетель тому, что я пытался, я реально пытался прикоснуться, так сказать. Но я, походу, опять что-то не выкупил просто.
Of the future in their presentations.
Side-scrolling games, for all the fun and success they brought us, will ultimately give way to newer, more complex genres.
And looks at the industry, then a $5 billion industry that is now an over $150 billion industry. One thing that hasn't changed is that classic E3 excitement when a game is shown. Sega's press conference was all about their new system.
Ты не слушал я одну секунду, думаю, сейчас совсем дурачок, что ли? Я слушал больше гораздо.
Like Panzer Dragoon, a game that would launch a series and would even get a remake 25 years later in 2020. Sega showed off one of their commercials, one of the kinds that you would expect to only see in the 90s.
Сфинктер.
And Sega even had the first, and it's available now, with the surprise announcement that the Sega Saturn is now available in stores.
We started our rollout of Sega Saturn yesterday.
Months before their original release date. Then they dropped the price and the new tagline,
Sega Saturn is not only here now, it's out there.
For Sony's presentation, it might surprise you that while Keanu Reeves made a more than memorable appearance at E3 2019, he made his actual first appearance as a key visual in Sony's opening sizzle in 1995. And this very 90s sizzle was pretty important because up until that point, Sony was still widely known as a tech company and hadn't released the PlayStation yet, at least not in the US. We were seeing the birth of a major gaming publisher and system through cheeky slides and clip art. But then came one of the most memorable moments in E3 history. After Sega had earlier announced the Sega Saturn's price of $399, the Sony Computer Entertainment president came up to the stage and simply said,
$299.
Бомбанес, ну ладно.
People reference this moment as the price heard round the world. 3DO also had a press conference showing their successful 1994.
Хорошо, что есть с кем раскачаться, так сказать.
Competition systems, and they even combated the age-old debate of PC versus console.
You don't need a dedicated system. A PC can do everything. That's a little bit like telling a family that they only really need one car.
They also showed quite a few next-gen visual demos of what their planned upcoming console, the M2, could potentially do. Nintendo spent almost their entire presentation directly discussing forgery systems and piracy that was plaguing the industry at the time. But what they lacked in any formal announcements, they made up for at their giant dome with big letters spelling out Nintendo. This is where you'll find a stage performance for Killer Instinct, as well as a place for
Нет, не выкупил. Нет,
Also, there was
не
an early
выкупил.
peek at the Ultra 64, which would have officially be named the Nintendo 64 a few months later. Nintendo also had Earthbound, which was the origin of NES, Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Conquest, and Nintendo's VR headset, the Virtual Boy. Also on display close by was the X-Band, seemingly the first online gaming attachment for a console. So that's the first E3. A look at what was, what could have been, and what came to be.
Game over. At the first E3 in 1995, we wound up showing off an early version of the very first
Клифф Близинский.
A lot of people who know and use the Unreal Engine don't
Это
necessarily
какой-то знаменитый чел. Чем знаменит, не знаю, но имя
I
узнаваемое.
remember being there with Mark Rain, and he yells out, "Miyamoto's checking out Unreal." Shigeru Miyamoto, my hero, like my idol, who's made so many games that have just fascinated me throughout my entire life from my childhood. I remember going over there and shaking and giving him a demo of the game and trying to show him why this game is unique, you know, with weapons that can charge up and players that can dodge and alternate fires and enemy AI that can track you down no matter where you were. And he was very stoic, you know, but I hope that I impressed him. And yeah, I was still shaking for like an hour after that.
E3, wow. 1995. $2.99, what a moment. You know what I mean? Killed the Saturn in its tracks. And so that's where I want to start. 1995, mid-90s, we're talking about video game consoles.
Yeah.
Golden Boy, we'll start with you. Were you a Sega kid or a Nintendo kid?
Oh, yeah, I was a Sega kid.
Sega
I was a Sega kid, dude.
kids
Sega kid, baby. Sorry. So here's the thing. My mother bought a Super Nintendo for my brother.
Sure.
But she was like, well, I can't have them sharing it because we're just going to argue and fight the whole time.
Yeah.
So then, you know, she ended up telling my father, hey, you got to go get him a Sega Genesis. She took the credit for it, by the way. Boss mom. Shout out to you, Ma. And yeah, and then, you know, I had the Sega Genesis. But the only game I had for like the longest time was Sonic Pinball or Spinball.
Spinball.
So
yeah.
And that was like one of my favorite Sonic games.
Oh, very nice. Yeah. Yeah, I was a Sega Master System kid. I was walking through the store, saw the Ghostbusters game, said, I want that. And my mom did no research. And she got me what I wanted.
Yeah.
But then I was a Sega kid, ride or die the rest of the way.
Yeah.
Through the Saturn. I bought a Saturn.
I had a Saturn too. Clockwork Knight, by the way, one of the most underrated platformer games ever. Clockwork Knight, so good.
Jackie, I feel like I don't need to ask.
You want to know what's funny? So actually, the first console we ever got was a Super Nintendo, and it is one of the most vivid memories of my life, actually. I remember my dad came in with the box, and my brother and I were chasing after him. We're like, what is this? What is this? And it was this little TV, like this big, and he was trying to get it all plugged in. My brother and I were sitting in front of this like gray screen, you know?
Yeah.
And then Super Mario World popped up, and my brother and I looked at each other, and we just screamed, you know?
Oh, wow.
And little did they know that they were going to start a full-blown video game obsession after that. But I messed with Sega, okay? I would go to my neighbors and we would play NBA Jam. We'd be like,
Какой же чел токсичный.
Oh my God, I loved it. And actually, my brother and I got a Dreamcast as well, but we were mainly a Nintendo family.
Well, yeah, the only reason I said I think I know is because you have an SNES game in front of you.
Actually, I did bring Chrono Trigger. I thought we were going to be talking about our favorite games from the 90s, and obviously, like, this one, it's near and dear to my heart. My brother and I played it repeatedly.
Sure.
And Robo's theme was my ringtone for probably 10 years, and then I got an iPhone, and I was
$1000
like,
game
you can't
пишет.
make a ringtone for these, or can you? And I just haven't figured that out. But anyway, yeah, this story just always resonated with me so much. I was a weirdo. I played like Secret of Mana and Terranigma and Illusion of Gaia. But those were like heavy, dark stories for 7- and 8-year-olds to be taken in. So my brother and I are like, you know, we went into the Incan ruins and we found this corpse, and it was like, please tell my family that I shouldn't have gone out searching for treasure, and I abandoned them. And my brother and I are like crying, you know, but I do think that these games made me the person that I am today and made my brother the person that he was. I'm sorry, I don't mean to get emotional, but I think we can all say that games have had a profound effect on our life. And
100%.
these games from the 90s, don't sleep on them, people. Don't sleep on them.
Man,
they got really, really amazing content. So
can I see the box?
Of course, I know. I'm like,
I don't think I've ever.
Yeah, do you want to put on white gloves before you handle it?
I feel like I should. I mean, like, I've never actually held a Chrono Trigger box.
I know. It's.
I saw one in Tokyo in Akihabara. I walked around for a little bit and I saw one there, and I asked the guy if I could grab it. He looked at me, said I was crazy, and then I left being, you know, in tears. But this is like a piece of history.
Yeah.
This is This is super cool.
Greg, you can hold it too. I know this.
Actually, I know this is. You're setting me up for like when that guy shows the Woodstock ticket and tears it in half. I'm not touching that. I'm not ending up on live stream fails.
Oh my god, I love it. But I feel like you can just feel the energy like coming.
Разрывная написали.
I know.
Блин, ну русских теперь не банят. Походу мы добились то, чего мы хотели.
Oh, easily in my top 5.
Ща.
What's in your top 5, y'all?
I want to say real quick that, and this is a reformed Sega kid speaking, that like video games made me who I am today. Obviously, it's my entire life, my entire career. My
Меня
entire
убили?
passion. But like, I
Нет, я
always
еще
look so
жив.
longingly at people who were Nintendo kids. Because you have, like, because I feel like you just, I feel like you guys had a different education, and that's not to say Sega didn't, but like I was a dumb kid. No one else liked video games as much as I did, so I was like just playing licensed stuff all the time, which got me like Castle of Illusion, Mickey Mouse Castle of Illusion, which was great. But it was also like the Jurassic Park game and all these other independent
Streets of Rage, baby.
Dude, I love Streets of Rage. Me and Mike Boylan, I remember that on Genesis sitting there. I remember having the blood in Mortal Kombat, being super stoked.
Battletoads versus Double Dragon, Sega Genesis. That game was freaking.
Получается, меня прослушивает став Твича или представители E3, они такие, блин, там русские машнят, что их банят в чате.
This is what happens when I can't sit between them.
Нет у них Russian Wave. Нет, у них еще нет БТТВ смайлик.
Still to come here on the E3 stage, we've got our indie showcase, Capcom, and so much more. The party's just getting started, so don't go anywhere.
Игры?
This is what happens when I can't sit between.
Чё? Я просто качество переключу. Пускать не, я думаю, если выпустить, то капец, выжигает глаза. Пожалуйста, хотите работать в геймерской индустрии? Пожалуйста, gameindustry.biz. Опять этот с PlayStation.
是中国领先的游戏媒体，创立于2018年。 致力于为全世界的中文游戏玩家提供专业、精准、迅速的资讯情报。篝火营地立足于中国，与多家国际一流游戏媒体同行达成正式内容合作关系，源源不断地将最新鲜的游戏资讯第一时间带给全球中文游戏玩家。自成立以来，
Я так понимаю, какой-то китайский агрегатор всех новостей.
服务了数百万的读者和玩家。我们的愿景是做游戏文化传播者。 您可以在全球各大手机应用市场下载篝火营地 APP， 或者访问3w.gamebonfire.com 来加入游戏传播者的行列。
As a part of Play for All, GameSpot will be bringing you the latest gaming news and announcements, interviews with developers, the biggest press conferences, and lots more. Play for All is our yearly online event that combines the excitement and announcements of E3 with charity live streams the following week, with lots of special guests who are going to help us raise money for able gamers. So join us in June for E3 and Play for All on GameSpot.com, YouTube.com/GameSpot, Twitch.tv/GameSpot, and as a part of the E3's official broadcast. See you then.
I remember this one time I was at E3 on a sitting there for lunch, and we were just sitting there eating, and then we got talking. We talked business, then we start talking games. I remember talking about Assassin's Creed, and I was saying how I snuck in the room, I climbed on the wall, then I jumped down, I took the knife, and I stabbed the person in the back. I looked over to my left, and I saw these people talk. They were talking, then they stopped listening, like, oh my God, what is he talking about? He just talking about killing somebody? I said, it's a video game. They're like, oh, okay. I was like, man, these people thought I killed somebody. They thought I was a hitman. I was like, oh, this is too funny.
Hitman, бля. Уже про Assassin's Creed говорит.
Thanks to our sponsors at DoorDash. Get more from your neighborhood, from restaurants and convenience to grocery and corner stores. All right, folks. Well, we are back here at E3 2021, and you know, here's the truth, guys. Sometimes the most difficult discussions, rather, are the ones that you need to have the most. And with the gaming community already being such a diverse place, it's time for the creative space to reflect that. So here's take two with an important discussion on the necessity of diversity, equity, and inclusion, and the corporate responsibility to honor those things.
Чё Т2, Е3.
Hello, I'm Alan Lewis, Vice President of Corporate Communications and Public
Так, ну
Affairs
Virtus
for
Pro
Take-Two
у него
Interactive.
что-то тут
Thank you
написано.
for joining us today and welcome to Virtual E3 2021. Take-Two, like many organizations, is deeply committed to and actively
А это уже
involved in
Take-Two
numerous
начались?
initiatives to enhance diversity, equity, and inclusion
Стоп,
within our
Take-Two это
society
же
and industry. Affecting meaningful,
GTA
sustainable
6.
change is a continuous process, and there is no one solution that can achieve that goal. We believe that to enact
Петрик, вот
change,
Петрик-то каким
especially
образом
for
туда
those in
попадет? Он
underserved
же
and
кейсер.
underrepresented communities, there needs to be
Зуев,
a
не знаю, кто
continuum of
такой.
activism
Ну,
and
знаю, кто такой,
engagement
но
with educational
не.
programs serving as its core
С
foundation.
Факером. Факер
Beginning
тоже
with children
тот
in
еще
elementary
игрок
school,
в игры,
we have the
конечно.
ability to light a spark of creativity, intellectual curiosity, and wonder that can last a lifetime. Continuing through middle and high school, we can support and nurture students during their formative years and increase the depth of their skills that can provide a pathway to attending one of the 400 plus colleges and universities
Хорошо бы
within
на
the
народ
United
будет
States
вонять.
that offer degrees in game
Да не
design.
знаю. Да почему вонять?
Providing opportunities to attend
Одно из
these
самых
academic
больших Twitch-комьюнити у Мэда как
including
раз.
need-based financial
Русскоязычный.
support, is also a
Почему именно
critical component to
комьюнити, а
helping
не
end
толпа детей?
generational cycles of inequality. And while pursuing their creative and technical degrees, students can learn firsthand from
Владимирская
industry leaders
это
that share their
какой-то
experience,
кэл.
acumen, and passion through one-on-one mentoring and internships at our organization.
Смешно, конечно, было
Together,
первые
our industry can
10
execute this
минут,
continuum. We will have
когда
invested
Animal
meaningfully in the
Crossing был
lives
в
of youth
топе.
from these communities for more than a decade before they began
Почему у
their
тебя там... Ты никто его у меня не
Diversity and
ненавидит.
inclusion make us a better industry for
Я бы
today
сказал,
and most
нейтрально все
importantly,
относятся.
for tomorrow. It allows us to
Каждый
make
же
better
смотрит,
entertainment
что он хочет.
experiences that are authentic, culturally relevant, and reflective of the audiences that enjoy them. Today, we have brought together a few of our important partners who will share their organization's mission and role in this
И же
endeavor,
нейтрально.
as well as their
Ну,
insights
опять
on
же,
how
я не
we as an
знаком с
industry
Мэдом до
can
стримов
continue to take
всего
these
творчества.
important
Ну,
steps
какие-то
together
там
into the
самые
future.
популярные видео.
We hope that you find
С
their work
Тортом,
as inspiring
еще
as we
что-то. Но у него же
It is now
бэкграунд
my
безумный и
pleasure
на
to turn things
телеке,
over to my
и на
colleague
Ютубе, и на
Tony
Рутюбе, и
Ladons,
на
Director
Спасибо
of
Еве.
Diversity and Inclusion for 2K,
Может, оттуда
who will be the
какие-то
moderator
ассоциации.
for
Я
today's
его
discussion.
знаю только как
Thanks,
стримера,
Alan. It's my
и все.
pleasure to be your moderator for today's session. Before we begin, I'd like to introduce my esteemed panelists today.
Негатив.
We're going to start off with Jim Huntley.
Так,
Jim
2K.
Huntley is currently the professor and head
Где
of
Rockstar
marketing
это?
at
Я не
USC.
понял.
Jim is a faculty advisor and he's an executive producer for USC Games Expo and a co-founding partner of PathView Gaming. Next, we have Susanna Pollock. Susanna is the president of
Чё он
Games
там
for
сидит,
Change, which is a
наглаживается?
nonprofit that
Это же челы
empowers
из
game
этого,
creators and social innovators to drive real-world impact through
с
games
черного
and
зеркала.
immersive media. Next to Susanna, we have Gordon Bellamy. Gordon is a professor of practice of cinematography arts
Наушники
at
снял.
USC.
А, ну его
He is also
представили.
the head of USC Bridge Incubator,
Gay
which is a
Gaming
program that helps to
Professionals
cultivate the next generation of leaders
Where
in the
Community
video
Meets
game
Industry.
And last, next to
Что, может
Gordon,
быть, я
we
чего-то не
have
вижу? Я
Layla
могу это
Shabir.
как-то приблизить?
Layla is the founder of Girls Make Games, which offers a series of summer camps, workshops, and game jams designed to inspire the next generation
Ну
of
ладно.
designers, creators, and engineers. Welcome to all of you, great panelists, and thank you so much for joining our important discussion today. Now, I'd like to dive right in here. And Jim, I'm going to start with you. In Alan's opening, he mentioned something that was so important. And
Блин, у них так эти вылетают, эти надписи, так плашками прям ты. Girls make games. А, да, реально. Gay Gaming Professionals. JJP. Так, это мобилки. Private Division.
Absolutely. Equity and diversity has been a challenge for the gaming industry since its inception.
Legendary Black really Inventor.
Changed very, very much over time. But I think the biggest change that people are seeing in the last 2 to 3 years
Racial
is
justice
of it in the modern era, and the rationale that there's no excuse behind not having better equity and diversity in the industry from here on out. So what I like about working with companies like Take-Two and some other companies that have reached out to me about an initiative we started called the Gerald A. Lawson Endowment Fund is that companies are now looking to invest in getting more diversity in their ranks and getting more stories told from different points of view.
Какой-то безумно максимальный резидент слипер. Омега резидент слипер нужен.
And why is it so important to have these conversations? Talk about that whole aspect and just getting people in the right mindset to understand what's available for them as majors in this industry. Jim, talk to us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So a lot of what we've been focusing on from a USC Games perspective is making sure that students of color, Black and Indigenous students in particular, because they have the least amount of representation within our industry out of all the various demographic groups. We've been focusing on scholarships, but the challenge that we have.
Почему они решили сделать этот типа kind of green screen без green screen?
I can't remember who to attribute to, but there's a phrase that he used that I remember saying.
Вряд ли же там хоть у кого-то был какой-то лютый срач на заднике.
And that sticks with me because the reality is if you don't have a great opportunity or access to computer science labs and specialized
Капец, 100 тысяч человек пришло посмотреть на
high school and junior high school, the odds of you having a great portfolio piece when it comes time to apply to a program like ours.
Ну, неприятный персонаж. Мне тоже неприятен Хаван. Есть, конечно, нормальный кор у него, но... Не. Слишком низкоинтеллектуальный туалетный юмор в большинстве своем, поэтому... Определенно присутствуют какие-то ораторские навыки, как у того же Мэда. Но опять же, если судить именно по деятельности в интернете, что за человек-то, я вообще без понятия. Типа, подтвердилось. Но у меня жопа подорвалась. Я просто не заметил, походу.
Yes, thank you so much for your insight. So important there. Susanna, that really kind of speaks to a lot of the great work that you're doing in helping to reach this underserved.
Где вот эта градация подрыва жопы, ниже нейтрального отношения? Я так понимаю, подрыв жопы ниже, чем ниже нейтральное отношение. Просто не совсем выкупаю эти рамки.
And we see our work with younger people as really inspiring the next generation, right? And so just what Jim was saying, like we're going as young as 6th grade, sometimes 5th grade, but trying to give young people and mostly
Free virtual festival to celebrate the power of games and immersive media to connect us.
Underserved communities, an opportunity to dive in.
Ну, тут что-то про детей она рассказывает. Дети уже в 4-5 классе начинают играть в игры и так далее. Но ты начал сразу бомбить. Доказывать нам что-то. Тебя никто не просил.
How to make games, but we also combine that with civic engagement. So they have to think about.
Ну, блин, извините за бомбежку, парни. Здесь никого не задел.
From the start, we want to empower them to think about this really important medium, not only as something they love to do, but they.
Ты так в скобочках и пиши, типа. Тема в продолжении не нуждается. Нет необходимости в продолжении. Не все, я просто ничего не буду говорить по этому поводу.
And part of our program, an important part of it, is this idea of mentoring and
Что за
mentoring from
дресня?
near
Ну, пока
peers
10 минут они
and also
просто
from people in the
разговаривают.
community. So as Jim says, it's so important they see
Ну,
themselves in the people that are
это я
coming to
тоже
speak to
могу
them.
объяснить,
So
на
when
самом
we're in Los
деле. Я
Angeles,
говорю,
for
мне не
example, we
нравится, не
find
нравится,
chefs
что они
in
сидят,
US,
базарят, но...
you know, USC
Понятное дело,
games,
что игры, они как бы не
game design students
рождаются в земле, как орки или еще что-нибудь. Игры делают люди, и, ну, и людям хочется, чтобы их знали. Людям хочется сказать, что они вкладывают. Людям хочется сказать, что они пытаются развить. И они наверняка тоже прекрасно понимают, что им ну, что большинству, точнее, похуй максимально на это. Но все же у нас типа локдаун, онлайн-ивент, типа можно, им ничего не стоит дома посидеть перед вебкой попиздеть. Типа это не куда-то ехать, выступать. Одно дело, когда ты на сцену выходишь, начинаешь что-то рассказывать, и ну, видно, что люди в зале, они живые перед тобой сидят, они с недовольными рожами, там кто-нибудь еще начнет букать, свистеть, еще что-нибудь. А тут, блин, они даже не открывают, наверное, Twitch-чат себе насрать. ИБД, Институт благородных девиц.
Layla, talk about the workshops and the summer programs that you offer to girls. How does that help to increase the representation and the mentorship aspects that we've talked about?
Thanks so much for having me. I was on mute. This is 2021.
Институт. Ну, я только такую расшифровку ИБД знаю. С 2013 года, и все, больше никакой.
You know, for girls, we get this question a lot. Why do you need a space that's just for girls? There's so many programs out there that are open to everyone. But I think it's just so important to create that space because, like Jim talked about, it's so important to see people who are like yourselves. For many of the girls that come to camp, this is their first time walking into a room full of girls who love video games. You know, they've been so accustomed to kind of being the only girl on their robotics team or the only girl that went to a coding camp with their brother.
Вот, у меня же есть смайлик получше, кстати, что это такой? Во. Где он запостился вообще? По-моему, нет.
It's really validating to walk away not just with the technical skills, but to feel like
Интегральная база данных. Нет, с таким термином я не знаком. Давай знакомимся. Блин, OBS, кстати, тоже на F11 можно в полный экран сделать.
You know, these girls kind of make plans together to go to college, and this year I would say like the first time we got in like dozens of emails from families saying, you know, my daughter is now thinking
Даже
of
Google
college,
такого
and
нет.
how do we get this portfolio going? How do we set that up? So I think touching on Jim's point too, there's so many challenges that, you know, people have to go through just to get everything right. You shouldn't have to rely on luck so much. So if you look at the women who are now excelling and thriving in the industry, and you ask them their stories, so many things had to go right in their lives to finally end up in the industry. Many of whom ended up there accidentally, like me and even Tony. I think Tony and I
Типа какое-то собирательство информации.
It shouldn't have to be luck or accident. We can actually intentionally create these pipelines. And I think
Меня, кстати, так пугает в последнее время реклама Ростелекома пуляется, где они типа рекламируют какой-то анализатор речи.
Getting them onto the programs and then passing them on to the student challenge and then on to USC and then finally on
типа, как объяснить-то, блин? И сидит, подслушивает и формирует список интересных тебе товаров, еще что-то, услуг.
And something else you mentioned is just like really opening this world of gaming to new, diverse.
Что неудивительно, то что там кто-то посмотрел батплаги в интернете, а ему потом позвонили и предложили купить.
lot of work in just helping to create value where value was not seen in places in the gaming industry, specifically for the gay gaming professionals. Can you talk about how the representation and widening the spectrum of what gaming professional looks like and how your company and your role really accomplishes that?
Попить налью.
So we have a mission which is focused on education, employment, expertise, and entrepreneurship. And
Смотрите пока гей-гейминг профессионалов.
alongside diversity and equity inclusion, there's a new word that's come up a lot, which is belonging, right? A feeling of belonging, of being default. And I know that people in their uniqueness do a lot of mental, socioeconomic, and sometimes social gymnastics before they get to be as good as they are, before they get a chance to participate in this panel or participate in our industry by and large. And I think the work that we all share is trying to disrupt some of those mental gymnastics, socioeconomic gymnastics, social gymnastics that young women, people of color, indigenous people, neurodiverse people need to do in order to be as great as they are, to belong, in the space. And sort of hearing, what Layla's speaking to of a cohort, right, that treats each other as default, and where are we going to go now together, collectively? The program, Jim's putting in place, right, with the endowment honoring Lawson, where there's going to be cohorts of Black and indigenous people, right, growing together. And the work that Susanna, you've been doing since before it was cool, okay? You've been changing games, making that dollar out of 15 cents before all of us. All of that work, and with the support of corporations like Take-Two, right, is enabling us to move a generation forward. Specifically with GGP, we have a scholars program in partnership with Take-Two. Some go to USC, many go on to participate in Games for Change, and many have been girls who made games. And that's where we find ourselves intersecting, is at that college point of how do we take it towards professionalization. And then we
Так, ну что, гей-геймер профессионал что-нибудь рассказал? Интересно.
That's the real challenge. We're trying to discover people. You don't want just to be entering. You want experts, right? And if things are going to really change, like this discussion, you need owners, right? Layla, owner. Susanna, owner. Jim, owner. All of you, owners of facets of your business, right? That is where we...
Я думаю, то, что программа какого-то тест-драйва на плагине распространяется. Ты типа берешь, либо нет, так сказать.
Right? We're still being counted, right? Until you're doing the counting,
right?
Nothing has changed, right? I don't need to ask how many young ladies are in Girls Make Games. You're like, all of them, right? What is the gender balance?
Чё он угорает так жестко?
All of it, right? These sort of systemic changes, like that is the work I think we all share. I think it's why we all made time today, right? I've been to every E3. I was a booth boy when I started, and I'm still here, right? 25, 26 years later, haven't missed one yet. So I hope that someone out there sees this and begins their path, right? And this is additive, that's why we're all here.
I appreciate that. Yes, exactly what you're saying. There's so much more that all of us can be doing. The accountability piece is really very important, Gordon. Thank you for bringing that up. I just want to lay this out.
Капец, они задоджили. Они включили чат только для смайликов, когда говорил гей-гейминг профессионал. Что это такое вообще? Он еще не закончил.
What can corporations do?
So I was thinking about this in particular as Gordon was talking about the scholarships that he puts forward. So having organizations, companies like Take-Two have a to be visible to young people, not just because they're buying, they're downloading the games off of off of Xbox or PlayStation, but because they're there in front from the beginning. And so Take-Two has been part of our challenge since the beginning, offering scholarships to our grand prize winners. And I can tell you that that's a motivator for kids to participate, not just because there's a scholarship at the end, but it's because Take-Two is part of it. Like, it made us cool. Right? And I think it's that
Ну, блин,
relationship,
если бы не вот эта онлайн-конференция, мы бы даже не познакомились с таким человеком, мы бы даже не узнали, что он есть, и он что-то хочет донести нам, хочет что-то рассказать людям. Правильно? Right?
And I think that kind of relationship with these kids, whether they're mentoring and coming into a classroom, they're volunteering at a game jam, or judging games at the end of the competition, they're involved. And I think that it really has.
Мы даже не узнали, что он геймер с...
I love that.
I just want to add to what Suzanne's saying. I think that
с 30-летним почти стажем игровым.
Is making the success of Black people, of women, of queer people, of indigenous people, neurodiverse people, a business goal.
Ты логики, зачем нам это? То, что его показывают. Показывают вместо игр. Мы пришли на игры посмотреть, а не на него. Подстава получилась. Насильно получается.
People, neurodiverse, other populations was a business goal, then that would be the change. It'd be that simple. Like, oh, our business is more successful if there is more of this, right? And that's about people being
Все с ним согласны.
Versus just being valuable, which are two different things. There's lots of exceptional people, right, who are of value in spite of their circumstances. They're valuable. Right? There's a difference between saying you're of value and that's a business goal in itself. And I think that's the real change, because it used to be, just real talk, it used to be about exceptionalism, right? And be like, oh, you're able to thrive under this duress, right? Isn't that cool? Versus, right, you are actually who we are, so we are going to cultivate you. That's who we are year round. That's what we look like, what we sound like, right? Who we are, right? And so as the lever moves more towards that, right? The same way, like, I have biases. I attended Harvard College, so I'm of value, right? There's value in that, right? I'm treated that way in some circles. If the same lens was put onto women, onto brown people, Black people, queer people.
Так пронзительно смотрит, да. Да он там евро смотрит, походу.
No cap on the change that could take place.
Right. And that just speaks to being deliberate with our diversity, inclusion, equity practices. Corporations really have to take that accountability and, like you said, do what's right in that spectrum, in that conversation, looking at value from different sources and kind of recalibrating our minds to that. But like you guys have said, it takes time. It takes starting earlier in the pipeline. I love that you just call that out. What other things can corporations do that are just different than what we've been doing in the past, perhaps? What would you recommend?
I would even add to what Gordon just said. The looking at this challenge as a business challenge is key. That's
Мне больше нравится мужичок, который head of mobile. Сидит, молчит. Ну хули там пакцы крутятся. Гача мутится.
That flipped the light switch on for me. Well, of course, like any business problem, what are my challenges? I've got gaps in my supply chain, if you will. So how do I fill those gaps in my supply chain? And really working your way backwards in a way where you're putting objectives, strategies, and tactics in place to achieve those goals from a business perspective. You're going to see outcome when it's not just, hey, here's a check and good luck with charity X. It's going to be more of, okay, here's a check. This is what we're hoping to see. Let's measure along the way and see if we're seeing progress on that. And it's the measurement of progress and adjusting in real time based on the data that you're getting back. that's where you're gonna see the gap start to close in a meaningful way and be able to point out.
Так, мы сейчас смотрим вот это.
This is what we can all do together.
И это закончится в 21:10.
And really had an impact on society as a whole. That mindset is really going to be what changes the game.
So I like to think about it as like a pie. You know, when we think about from like a corporate strategy, we always think about there's a piece of the pie and everyone gets a little piece of the pie. But I think
трейлер Сталкера, блин, смотрели. Я вчера 2 раза его смотрел.
I think by including more people, the pie gets bigger. So it's not a fixed size.
Блин, нет, люди общаются, люди рассказывают. От того, что нам это нахуй не надо, это не кринж. Типа, ну это не последние люди, я так понял, в Take-Two. Эти же люди потом придут к тебе и будут тыкать в лицо продажами, цифрами.
An outsider to the games industry, I was just kind of blown away that, oh my God, you can do so much. Like 9 out of 10 kids play video games. You know, not 9 out of 10 boys, 9 out of 10 kids. We're talking about literally changing perceptions and inspiring and educating generation after generation. And yet that power rests in the hand of like a select few. And I think when you think about it, not just from a corporate responsibility, but as a social responsibility, like what are we putting out there for our kids to consume? I think we need to bring in pretty much everyone, anyone and everyone who's interested in building a future together in that. So between the pie and the corporate responsibility, I feel like there's a lot that gets lost. Like I think there's a big dichotomy between these are people that are doing good and these are people that are self-serving, but it doesn't work like that. We have to work together and everyone does kind of go between what's good for me and what's good for everyone.
История, которая...
Thank you for bringing that concept up, Layla. The codependency. We are all community members in this pipeline, and we have to be active, deliberate in our processes, in our systems, how we tackle this problem. Before we end this conversation, there's tons of questions that we have that we want to ask you. So I'm going to pause right now and give our esteemed questionnaires a chance to ask their questions that are top of mind related to our conversation today.
Q&A.
So we're going to start it off with some questions from our other video game industry experts here. We've got Carrie. She's an executive producer from Private Division. We also have Vanetta, who's a director of talent acquisition with Take-Two, and Nir, he's the head of mobile for Take-Two. So go ahead and fire it away.
Awesome. Thank you, Tony. The first question is for Layla, but certainly open to having the rest of our panelists answer the question. But at the beginning of your career, did you ever imagine being a leader within an industry that is predominantly male-dominated? And what is your advice for other young women that are interested in taking a similar path to where you are today?
Thank you, Juanita. I don't think I really envisioned being in a male-dominated industry, although I did envision being in a male-dominated world, because I grew up in the Middle East and I was painfully aware of being a girl and how my life was going to turn out to be different from my male peers or my brothers or my cousins or any of that. I was fortunate that my parents were very supportive and they wanted me to pursue whatever dream I wanted. But I think having that mindset and coming from a world that was very much male dominated already prepared me for, you know, hey, whatever I end up doing, there's going to be more boys or men than me. I think the piece of advice that I would really give girls is to honestly not think about your gender when you think about what you want to pursue, because it's all about you specifically. You might end up liking things that people, even your age, your geographic location, your, you know, educational background or your family might not have heard of or even thought of. And that is all the things that I ended up doing were things that didn't match anything that I had seen in my own environment, but I just kind of pursued what I wanted to. And then two is to kind of use a very selective hearing I think you have to kind of develop selective hearing. Listen to the people that care about you, that love you, and encourage you in being more of who you are, and diminish the voices of people who say you can't do things because it's never been done, or that's not how it is, or that's not how the world works. The way the world works is based on the world that we build, and we're continually building a new world. So it doesn't matter how things are done now, they're going to be done a different way as you grow up, and you can be part of building that world. So those would be like my two pieces of advice for girls, is to just pursue what you want and, you know, develop selective hearing.
Все, сейф удален.
All right. My question is for Susanna, but also open to anyone else who would like to answer. And I think Gordon kind of hit it earlier when he said that, you know, most of us didn't have a lot of examples or opportunities. I'm in that boat. I didn't have any programs and anyone telling me that I could do this, and definitely had to not necessarily an accident, but really had to work.
Блин, хорошо начинал. Чувствовали прям вот оно.
So my question, Susanna, for you is, could you share an example of how your program has impacted someone that has participated, or, you know, a few people?
Sure.
Освежить карту надо.
So, as I said, our program is 6 years old in New York City. We're a bit younger in the other cities that we're operating in, and there are opportunities now that kids all over the country can participate. But we saw in New York a very particularly strong cohort. We are actually in over 125 schools right now in New York City, and there are some rock star teachers that have encouraged their kids to participate, their participants year on year on year. And that, to me, is certainly the beginning of getting this kind of program off the ground, and particularly in schools where students usually aren't offered this kind of experience. So, one, having the teachers find value and really and work to and making it a part of an annual program within their school system has also allowed students to continue with the program year on year. There's one young woman in particular who won, I think she won the our theme category the first time round when she participated as a sophomore. The junior year, she won again. And by the senior year, she was a grand prize winner in New York City. And I hear that she then followed on with a full scholarship to NYU Gates Center. Right. And it was just amazing. And I just remember she was invited to speak at the Games for Change Festival after she won. It must have been the second year. I don't think it was the third year. And she came and we were having a panel, a conversation about, you know, the program. And she was invited to speak on it. And her father came with her and followed her around the entire 2 days she was there with a camera recording her experience in this, you know, professional environment, not only when she was speaking, but when she was sitting and watching the other people on stage. And it was so awesome to see that kind of support within her family. And I'm like, all right, you've got educators supporting this young woman, this pathway. She's got her family. And actually, since she graduated, I've seen other kids in her family come through the program. But it takes that kind of multiple supports from different directions to really support this young woman who is a woman of color from Brooklyn, who found her path, right? And she got the right supports, and she got there. And now I also understand that she's launched her own studio and is raising money, you know, on Kickstarter. She's remarkable.
Да, поднимает бабки на Кикстартере, какая же охуенная.
Do you have a question for our panelists?
Не пизда.
Yeah, hi, I do. So my question is to Gordon. I'm looking at LGBTQ representation in gaming.
Короче, в приоритете ближники и вот те челы.
12 years, and it feels to me that representation
Кто
is
там?
a bit low
О,
than
мобильный гейминг.
what I see in tech in other
Заговорил.
sectors. Do you have some data or some thoughts?
Не хватает Романа Трахтенберга, который при смерти начинал бы жестко поливать говном. Дрогнули листочки, закачались клены, с золотистых веток полетела пыль, зашумели ветры, охнул лес зеленый, зашептался с эхом высохший ковыль.
About 15 years ago, which is not that long ago in corporate times, queer people only existed on an anonymous basis, anonymous to each other.
полностью, да.
Okay, because employment safety, which is still a
Бассейн
concern
будет
globally,
жестким, прям
not to mention
чувствую.
just safety
Бассейн было
safety,
так дрочь
was a number
недостаточно.
one concern which all of us lived with. So, you know, even back then, you know, weird flex, but I had designed Madden Football, had already sold a company to Activision. Employment safety.
Этого чела мы послушаем
So,
полностью.
that is the number one reason why. And just in this new recent history, have we begun to build the trust and value in each other so as to aggregate and to even acknowledge each other, okay? And to build systemic ties to companies like Take-Two and others to move from hiding from the industry, right? Escaping from the industry, to affinity, right? Right? To employee resource groups and corporate leaders like Tony existing, right? And we're moving closer to being a business resource. And so in other technology areas, that path is further along, where it is like to say in the batter, that the queer identity is of value, and there's customers, there's of course creators, there's of course business leaders and owners, you know, of all walks, and in the optimum business, you would cultivate, you know, all types of people. As a game craft, we are still in generation one. You even asking this question here, you are a wild pioneer. You are the out there with your machete chopping down bamboo to even ask this question, which presumes that LGBT people would be employed, okay, and then in communication with each other, right? In communication with each other across different companies, and in any sort of ongoing concern. So welcome. Thank you for asking. For those of you at home, we have a Discord and a Facebook that you can all join and participate at any time, or you can reach out to me directly on Twitter, Gordon Bellamy. Wherever you may be on or off your path as an LGBTQIA person or an ally, right? Because I think that's something we've all discovered. And I think whatever population you are part of, whether it be across gender or race or expression identity, is that you don't have to be a member to care. Okay, you don't got to be a member to say this is an important issue. And in fact, a lot of the work that we do at a corporate level is saying, hey, you don't have to do all the work, right? You don't have to push the rock that's sitting on you. We're going to help you push that rock that's on you. It's not on me, but I can help push, right? Because I can see it. It's on you. And so asking these questions, corporate support, time, right? 3 T's, time, talent, and treasure, you know, will move this discussion forward. I hope that answers your question there, but otherwise just get at me. I can, you know, tell you more. And anyone out there who's watching, we can tell you more in greater detail.
Удивительно, что он ни разу не
Gordon, I know
сказал.
your company has some things going on in the few months.
Oh,
can you
sure.
talk about some of the activities you guys have?
Sure.
Он еще не
So
закончил.
we have most of our content now, in addition to our scholars program and our community service that we do with Take-Two, is streaming. So we stream front page of Twitch and we bring it to YouTube, content around equity, inclusion, belonging. And not just LGBT, we just had our second Indigenous Game Creators panel yesterday. Big hit, because you know what? Indigenous creation has always been here. In August, we're going to be doing our first GGP honors, which is going to be honoring the best in diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging in our craft. So we're going to be lifting up the people who do the work, right? Every day in our ERGs, in our executive suites, like Dr. Liggins, right? These people need to be cultivated as well, right? The same way that we cultivate engineers, artists, and other
Все
things that we
внимание к нему
value,
сейчас приковано. Это не
right?
просто так.
Things that we value need to be
Он сам
cultivated. So we're going to
подтверждает
be getting to do
каждое
that
свое
work
высказывание.
August.
Это тоже очень
Tune in,
важно.
front page of Twitch. It's going to be a mood. Hope you're all there.
Awesome. Thank you. We probably have time for one more question, so let's go
Да,
for
времени
it.
у вас дохуя.
Who's got their last burning question for our panelists?
Oh, I have several questions.
Burn.
one. We'll just speak. I have to come from the affinity group, ERG, BRG perspective. So Gordon, thank you for touching on that. So this question is for both Jim and Gordon. As someone that represents a member of an ERG as well as a leader of an ERG, what advice would you give ERGs, affinity groups, BRGs that are either just starting out or those that are established in organizations that are looking for ways to further embed themselves into the business? So that better versus pricing that you're talking about.
Also, I mean, to add to that, I think the something that a few of us have touched on earlier is an old adage from the business world: you can't manage what you can't measure. If you don't have a way to see how your progress is evolving over a continuum, you're kind of just going, well, I think something's working, let's just keep doing that. And business people, myself being one of them, don't respond well to that. It's just okay, let's just keep investing in a thing that I don't know the results of. You need to be able to go back and say, hey, this year we were here, this following year we were here. Here's the, not only have we seen a positive impact on the investment or good ROI, but we also recognize the fact that the partner and partners that we're working with are making moves and making investments into the future that they're saying that they want to see. The positive feedback loop of being able to say, here's data that shows that what we're doing is having an impact on our objectives, and rewarding that partner or those partners for that investment and for that support. That's really key to building a positive feedback loop around investing in diversity.
Я волноваться начал.
Yeah, what Jim said, but I'd still say make it mobile. God, if you could move that needle like 0.2%, anything, you can't get cut. You can't get cut then, right? There's no way, if the budget's tight when you're moving that needle 0.2%, right?
Oh,
the scale which we all operate, it's pretty staggering when you think about it. When you aggregate how much revenue and profit goes in the games business for a meaningful moving of the needle of DEI, comparatively speaking, it's not a huge amount of money. It's to have a really big demonstrable impact, measurable impact. If we aggregate our dollars and really focus on some key objectives, we can really
Да, это настоящий хардкор.
Frankly, when you start seeing things work, people get excited.
People hardcore, я бы сказал.
Let's keep doing it, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's why the Lawson Fund is what it is. It's an endowment because we want to see it have an impact in the aggregate over time, over generations, and support students for decades to come.
Но я никогда не играл на 400 КГ, но я знаю.
This fiscal year, what can we do?
Я один раз, по-моему, заходил, что-то потыкал.
Awesome, thank you.
One more thing, just to let it go, is just keep saying black out loud, right? Let's get back to black is beautiful. We've been residing in Black Lives Matter for a long time, and we need to be back to like black and proud and black and beautiful. And so your existence,
proud, right? I'm proud,
and saying it and saying positive outcomes after the word black is meaningful each and every day that you can do it in your ERG.
I love that. Thank you.
Good question. We've got
Russian
time
and
for more.
proud,
What else do we
Russian
have?
and beautiful.
All right, I'll go if we have time for more. Layla, how can you be able to actually connect with the people in the community to bring awareness for your programs? Like, how do you actually gather people, to participate, and especially like in the very beginning?
Oh my gosh. So the first camp in 2014, we literally like barged into a maker fair with flyers, and we were just going around and being like, you look like you would love video games because you're playing with robots right now. So come to our camp.
I'm playing video games right now.
It's pretty much primarily been word of mouth originally, but then when we ended up partnering with the game studios and game companies, that really helped elevate the program and the PR. I think Susanna touched on that. It's like it actually legitimized us and then kind of made us really cool. Like, hey, you can go make games at these game studios. You can actually make a game at Xbox, PlayStation, Nintendo, Take-Two. You can go into their offices, meet the developers, and make these games. And I think that cool factor has kind of really helped us out. when it comes to speakers and people who want to mentor and be involved, that's been a lot easier because, you know, a lot of our teachers end up being college students themselves, and they come back and they'll say things like, I wish this program existed when I was younger. It sucks I couldn't go to it, but at least I get to be a part of it and give back to the kids. And then same thing for mentors and speakers. There's so much interest in wanting to give back and wanting to welcome new voices into the industry. We haven't really had to do a lot of pushing. You know, in fact, we get pulled in a lot of directions. I was talking to my team the other day. I was like, this is a very fortunate problem to have where we're getting pulled in 100 directions because we're needed in 100 directions, as opposed to us telling people that, hey, this is important, pay attention, and, you know, look at what we're doing. So yeah, I would say it's been very organic, and really the tide is turning. You know, we're building a new industry. We're building on the industry that we have, but we're also building a new part of the industry together. So it's really exciting.
Thank you. Thanks, Layla. And thank you to our panelists. You guys have been very inspirational, very thought-provoking, and have left us with a lot of great tidbits to take away, to take back to our corporations and our respective organizations to really make a deliberate impact in our community that we're building and this whole world of diversity and equity and inclusion in the video game industry. So thank you all. Thank you, the viewers, for joining, and have fun at the virtual E3 conference.
Чё там?
I think ever since Mega Man X, I've just loved the sort of 8-bit, 16-bit pixel art style. As an artist, I just kind of fell in love with that aesthetic.
Number 1, Mega Man X, favorite game of all time. Whenever somebody asks me the deserted on an island question, Mega Man X is the game.
I would say Tomb Raider. Lara Croft is the reason why I started to become really adventurous in my own life and wanted to be as intelligent and curious
Типа какой-то Geometry Dash.
Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. I feel like that was the first video game that I've ever played where I've seen so many black people in one game and felt like, oh my gosh, my people. You got the Isley Brothers playing on the radio? Like, oh yes, this is where I need to be.
Parappa the Rapper on PlayStation. Man, bring that back, PlayStation. Parappa got more bars than half the industry right now. So I recommend that you all go check it out because it's one of my favorites.
I think it might be Apex Legends, and I know, you know,
Apex Legends.
the thing that you just done, but truly, I have been waiting my entire life.
Вообще плохо. Блин, это замедло мне все засрало.
Yeah, it's changed my life.
My favorite game is, without question, absolutely League of Legends. It's been like a decade since release, and it's still just at the top of the charts, and it's where I go with all my friends and hang out. It's my go-to.
That was the first female I actually ever seen play video games. It's my mother, and she loved 007.
Чё им замазали все? Вроде бы написано Team Liquid, но при этом Team Liquid, Alienware, все замазано.
We would just go crazy in that game, have game nights and everything.
Lion King, Sega, on Sega, because that will teach you about life right quick. That was hard.
I've said it many times. TV should have his own segment. Every time he's on camera, I'm just like cracking up. Love him. Anyway, welcome back to E3 2021. Do not forget to check out e3expo.com/shop for your E3 2021 needs.
Look like this. Don't you want to look like this, young man?
You want to look just like me?
You want to look like a schlub like me? I'm in a bomber jacket. Nobody likes me. Or do you want to be in an E3 bomber jacket and everybody likes him?
All the kids want to look just like me, anyway.
Okay, anyway, we do need to give a big thank you to Razer. Do you see our lovely little Razer Blade laptops here? And then we're in the Razer Isker chair. Oh, sorry, you didn't get one.
I got the chair, though.
You did, and they're amazing. The lumbar support is on point, y'all. Greg, you and I, we're tall folks, so it's like you need that lumbar support. It makes us stand up straight.
That's the thing, is if you're not a tall person, you don't understand how hard it is to be tall. And that's always embarrassing, right? Go, oh, right. Sorry about that.
Okay, be nice, gentlemen.
The pain I'm feeling right now. I don't have a laptop. Greg, make fun of me. You know what? I quit. No, I'm kidding.
No, you know what was low-key the best thing? Yesterday, they were like, Golden Boy, can you put your chair up higher? Can you put your chair up higher? And Greg and I were being so nice. We were not saying anything. We were just like, okay. Anyway, my producer's like, move it along, Jackie. So we did this great segment earlier where we were talking about 90s games and the impact that they had on us. And I kind of went off the rails and started talking about Chrono Trigger and Illusion of Gaia at length. But you both didn't really get a chance to talk about the games that have had a huge effect on you. So I wanted to hear both of y'all just be like, hey, this game changed my life. So you're in the hot seat first because you're right next to me. Hi.
Yay. The easy answer for me would have been Halo. I will just give a mention. It was a game that brought me and my brother together. We were always, bickering brothers, right? It's just how it is with siblings. But both of us sitting down playing that campaign, it was great. But for myself personally, one of the games that had a profound impact on me was, funny enough, Final Fantasy VII. Oh. It was the first RPG that I had ever played, and it began this infatuation with RPGs. And there was a point in time, folks, where the PlayStation, I swear to God, just had nothing but RPG games. I feel like every other month there was like a new RPG coming out, but that just started this long-lasting love for that genre. And then there was the first game that I played that literally was just, was Batman on the NES. What a game. Yeah. Super fun game. That first level as a child, let me tell you, not easy. But yeah, those games have always been so big for me. What about for you, Greg?
Man, I think if you go back to the youth, there's so many things that put me on this path here, right? But I think for impactful games, the first thing that comes to mind is more modern. I think of Gone Home. Oh, if you haven't played Gone Home, of course, right? It's a walking simulator, and when Gone Home hit, I was told by everyone on the internet to go play it and read nothing about it, which means I will now spoil Gone Home for you. I played that game like so many people did, thinking it was a horror, and then slowly there's this side story building about, your sister, she's missing, and what's going on with it, and you're reading the notes she's left. And slowly over time, it's like, oh my God, like she's falling in love. Oh my God, she's discovering she's gay. Oh my, and then it was like, wait a second, is this game a horror game at all, or is it all about that relationship? And it was all about that relationship. And, no video game, no work of fiction, of course, can tell you exactly what it's like to be LGBTQ. But for me, as a hetero white male, where everything's great all the time, right? This was a window, at least, into it of what that discovery is like, and the pressure of it, and what you're going through. And
мерзко, то что он
I've heard stories before, but
за пистолетом спайс.
In a video game way, being in there and reading these intimate thoughts on a level that I didn't get in a passing conversation with somebody. It was so powerful that when that game ended, I felt like I had a brand new empathy for what LGBTQ people have to go through, of course.
Yeah. Wow. Definitely got to check that game out now.
Yeah, no, for real. I'm like, I am completely sold. I've heard great things about it as well, but I'm like, okay, everybody, Greg Miller says to play it, I'm playing it. Okay, so Golden Boy and I were up in the break room, and I was like, okay, I need you to break down for me, like, NFT, Bitcoin, the works. And he popped out this little diagram. He wouldn't allow me to bring it down here, folks. He's like,
wasn't very well done.
He's like, people are going to make fun of my stick figures.
Oh, like a 7th grade diorama where, like,
But what was so sweet about it was Golden Boy's like, you can keep it for you, Jackie. This will just be for you. And I was like, oh, he drew a stick figure of me, and it was like tall and lanky. And then he's like, this is me. And he's like, see, it's got a little belly. And he's like, and it's missing hair. And I was like, stop it, Golden Boy. But actually, this kind of brings us to our discussion about mythical games. That's why we even started talking.
First, I do want to give a huge shout out to my boy Justin Kruger. I've known him for years, and he's over at Mythical, so I'm very much looking forward to seeing what they're going to bring to the table. But yeah, Mythical Games is a very interesting company because what they're doing is they're making games on the blockchain. And I know everyone's like, well, sure, NFTs, blockchain, crypto, there's always conversations around it. But what's really interesting about games is like, what if you were able to play something like, a Hearthstone, and you had a particular card in Hearthstone,
тогда радуйся, что они бесплатные брать игры.
and you owned
Радуйся
a version of that card. Like, you own that card. It was like 1 of 100 or 1 of 200, whatever, right?
It'd be like Magic, right? It would be like what you're already doing.
What you're already doing right now. Exactly. And imagine you were able to do that. Now, this is obviously a fun game. You play with your friends, and it takes that same kind of concept of, like, ownership over what you have in your game, and then it just paints it with this fun-loving, colorful flair.
Yeah.
So I'm really looking forward to it. Huge shout out to Mythical Games. I think they're pushing pushing the boundaries a little bit here, and really it's only the beginning, because you're going to see more and more of this as the blockchain continues to
Типа они
improve.
скины блокчейном защищают или что?
Yeah.
Well, fans of Blanco's Block Party are going to be happy to know that they can now own and sell their own characters. So for more on Blanco and an inside look at how the developers plan to change the way we look at video game characters, here is Mythical Games.
Let's go.
Yay.
Ура, игры, блядь.
In your own words, what is Blanco's Block Party?
Oh, man.
Blanco's Block Party, it's a lot of things.
The game or just the Blanco?
I'm looking at you. Perfect. Awesome. So Blancos was originally what we thought a player-owned economy in a video game could be.
So it's a cool mixture of art, design, you know, music, entertainment.
This is like the evolution of modern art. Seeing how those artists use different mediums again, you know, it's not just about canvases.
50% of my work is
Это какая-то попытка в те фигурки, как они называются.
Digital aspect of things.
What the gaming industry has really become is a lot about microtransactions and getting as much money out of the player as possible. What we're doing at Mythical with NFTs and blockchain really changes that script.
By the end of this time next year, I'm going to have a whole row of Blancos. So.
Play, earn, collect, sell.
That's it. Sorry, I got lost. Can we start again?
In a minute, own it. I ain't gonna rent it. It feel like it's third down, so I'ma slip farm like Emmett Smith. Yeah, I'm going in, baby. Yeah, I'm trying to win, baby. Yeah, you know the biz, baby. Yeah, you know the biz, baby. The way we win, it ain't fair. But ask, do I care? Yeah, that's right. On the left side, on the right side. Put your hands way in the sky. On the right side, on the left side.
I just had a quadruple espresso. Is that a problem? Hi, my name is John Linden. I'm the CEO of Mythical. So working with Rudy and Jamie have really been a lot of fun because we really have kind of merged three different industries into one. So we have kind of obviously deep experience in gaming, but we also have teams from blockchain and we have teams in marketplace technology. And bringing these three worlds together, it's been a challenge at times, but also it's really helped us explore how to make this work. And I think that's been the intersection of those three industries together has really made Mythical special. I hope the players within Blancos
Скины, блядь, в игре по блокчейну и маркетплейсу, блядь.
It's kind of a safe place that people can come. It's a great,
Не удивлюсь, если это будет популярно.
And meanwhile, they have this economy behind the scenes that they can earn. They can really transact and be part of the world themselves. And that's really what they need to know. It really has become a great community, and we really encourage people to be part of that community.
When you're building a game at the moment, if you want to move from 10,000 users to 10 million users, what you really need to do is have really, really epic gameplay.
Blancos is a game that's all about what we imagine vinyl toys do when we're not watching. What happens when we go to sleep and these toys are left to their own devices, and an exploration of that whole fun world of creativity that these toys escape to. Every single Blanco has a story and have their own inspiration and their own flavor and their own style. And I think that players are going to find that they'll go, oh, I like this toy because it speaks to me.
You are playing, building, and collecting. But then outside of that,
Чем ХП выстрелил? Таких ошибок надо избавляться.
All you need to know is how to play a game, and we teach you that.
The Junction is an amazing place where the Blancos go to express their creativity. Players are going to have a role in helping to bring that world online.
Раз, два, три, четыре. Раз, два, три, четыре, пять. Раз, два, три, четыре, пять, шесть. Раз, два, три, четыре, пять, шесть.
They can make whatever level they want. They can set the terrain and
Раз,
then they
два,
can set the
три,
wind
четыре,
conditions and they can set the
пять.
game type. So you can make this level into a shooter.
Раз,
or you
два,
can make this
три,
level into
четыре,
a
пять,
race. There are
шесть,
things that
семь.
we didn't even think was possible with our level editor that they've been able to do. I've seen levels that recreate a particular science fiction movie that I might not be able to say.
I wanted things that felt like beautiful pieces of art. We're just continually adding to this huge library of buildings and houses and vehicles and that kind of stuff. Things that you can throw
Блин, что-то ближники дамажат как будто в 2 раза больше, да?
make your own block party.
In the open beta, we've seen over 20,000 block parties. Once you're done playing it, there's a rating system, 1 through 5. So you can really get that feedback from the players. There's over 70,000 NFTs that have already been purchased in our open beta, and we've been seeing just tons and tons of people jump in.
Now that NFTs are moving into the mainstream, the most important thing for games, gaming studios that want to focus on NFTs is to really ensure that their gameplay, their player experience is on par or exceeds anything else in the mainstream market today.
We're putting the fun in non-fungible tokens.
По мне 2 раза попали,
It's
да?
going to be really exciting to see the game, the community grow over the next few months.
Они как будто не важно, что ты начинаешь. Не важно, что ты начинаешь первым, как будто они просто по возрастанию идут. То есть имеет смысл сходить сначала туда в конец.
Part of my art exists in the fine art world, and in that world, I could create a painting and sell a painting, and then that painting goes off to a collector, and then I get paid. Right?
История.
I have no idea, no control over who gets the painting. No idea if 20 people sell it down the road for exponential amount of money. I never see a dime of that. I have no idea what thing. So one of the cool things about NFTs is that smart contract that's locked in, and you're able to just not only track who gets it, but share that profit forever.
While one will collect for love, the other side that you want to collect from is also from a perspective of capital appreciation. You know, when we look at the collector world today, vinyl toys are on a tear, right? Just the very fact that Blanco's Block Party created a platform where you could not only collect digital vinyl toys created by epic vinyl toy artists, but at the same time use those vinyl toys to battle other people in games. I truly believe that it's a magic formula for, you know, not only epic capital appreciation on the assets themselves, but also, you know, immense amount of enjoyment in playing the game.
Today's gamers are used to having a lot of control over customizing the experience that they have. We've seen that in the trend of games coming out over the last 10 years. Players spend a lot of time online, they spend a lot of time in digital space. That's where they want to express themselves, through skins, through cosmetics, through the things that they buy through games. I think that's where, you know, Blancos really shines and what we can bring to the table, but also where I think NFTs play a huge role, right? Like, because it gives you a chance to really own the world around you, the universe that you're customizing, you're creating. You've got a greater stake in this thing now. Rudy Koch, SVP Business Development. Am I just supposed to say that? Just my name? Title? All right. I'm a big-time collector. I collect vinyl toys. I have a whole wall of them at home. I'm a nerd.
Даже не выстрелил.
We're all nerds. We all collect.
Вот, и оно легче как будто.
I actually started my career in comic books.
I collect sneakers.
I loved.
Что он сникерсы собирает?
Hundreds.
These concepts as collectors ourselves, like the box opening, you know, opening a box for your Blanco, or the serial numbers on each of the NFTs that you buy. These are concepts that live in the physical collector's world that we love so much, and we wanted to bring that and translate that.
Что NFT-то на самом деле на слуху в последнее время все какие-то арты, музыка.
And it's been a lot of fun to see that all unfold.
Списочек нет, списочек что-нибудь не пополнился. Если ты не заметил, братик, игр не показывали.
Blankos, as you play with them, they get better. You can customize them. You can make them the way that you want them to be, but also increase their rarity and increase their scarcity by playing with them. Our leveling up process, it's called Grade Up. It draws from real toy and collectible culture. It's kind of a neat turn on everything that you would think about collectibles.
I'm looking to invest in and acquire assets from games that have the ability to move into the mainstream. Games that have the ability to become
Обидный дамаг
There
был.
are mainly three that top my list. Again, Blanco's Block Party, Gods Unchained, as well as Axie's Infinity. They've been able to integrate blockchain within their gaming mechanisms, really in the background, while rather than having it to be a requirement to be able to participate in the game and participate in the community.
Get yours, yeah, yeah, yeah. Get the money, get the money. Ooh la 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 la, throw it all on me, yeah.
A really key focus for
Какая-то очень мерзкая хуйня там происходит.
Our marketplace is very accessible for really all players in the game. This is going to continue to develop as we add more functionality around cryptocurrencies, being able to use your crypto wallet. But the core focus of our product is making sure that the mainstream audience is able to enjoy the game and have a super simple experience.
Historically, like if you're playing a game and you're trying to sell your items, the game developer doesn't support that, right? And Mythical Games takes the stance of we enable it and we facilitate it. Mythical's blockchain uses proof of authority for consensus, which basically is a much lower.
Там какие-то базовые парни придумали какую-то базовую хуйню.
We're planning to bridge to multiple chains. We're bridging to Ethereum, which is about to go to proof of stake, which is about.
Поднялись, блять, на скинах в КС-ке.
By using blockchain technology, you own your game assets, and then you can build another.
Керамбиты школьникам в рулетках рекламируют.
Different metaverses, and that's a new paradigm, and it's inevitable, and I think gamers are going to demand it. Traditionally, like when you're participating in a marketplace, you're relying on trust in the company to keep the database accurate. Where Mythical Games is using a blockchain where our smart contracts are publicly accessible, so you have confidence and trust that you're getting what you're buying and your true ownership, and you have it forever. Because traditionally, game companies can just say there are 1,000 of them, but who knows if there are 1,000, right? With Mythical Games, we have provable scarcity. And with provable scarcity, as an investor, a collector, or a gamer, that's really what you want.
I've been drawing since I could hold a pen or a pencil. My granddad taught me how to do an engineer drawing when I was 4. You know, I've just fell in love with the idea of drawing and creating. It's just something that gives me a ton of joy. As I started to look around at art, it always really appealed to me, but I was always really appealed by graffiti art and the music that I listened to. To have a favorite, that's like asking me what my favorite child is. It's currently my daughter, by the way, if anyone's asking. So for me, it just evolved over time as I started to learn a bit more about street artists and see the evolution of street artists. See an artist go from kind of painting an illegal wall to having a gallery showing or something like that. Seeing how those artists use different mediums.
При каждом смене сцены у тебя спадают бонусы.
It's about taking these shapes and these 3D canvases and expressing their desires, their needs, whatever it is they're trying to say on a different canvas. We know where we sit now compared to 20 odd years ago when all these artists were still just street artists getting arrested for doing throw-ups on trains, and now, you know, a couple of $1 million at Sotheby's. I'm like, it's pretty cool.
Where should our hands be? Oh, okay.
Сука.
I'm super excited to talk to you guys about some of the artists that we're bringing into the game, some of the first collaborators, and I think it's appropriate to start with Michael Lau.
Michael Lau is a legend in the space. He's definitely known as the godfather of vinyl toys. He has this really awesome quote, which is all art are toys and all toys are art. And I think like that.
Ничего, вы заработали дроп, мне написали.
I think we're really excited to see his style come alive in our realm.
Какой дроп я заработал? Что такое? Заработали дроп. Получите сейчас, перейдите в инвентарь. Получить.
Another artist and designer that we're super excited to talk about is Quix. And what I love about Quicks is that
Бланкенштейн, Бланке.
he's super hip hop culture. Love his designs, love the samurai.
You know, he has this really iconic, like Japanese mech warrior style. So, you know, I think we were all just excited to see that come alive in the Blinkos universe.
My artwork and the style of toys that I do now are pretty much rooted from the stuff that I've loved since I was a kid. I grew up in the 80s, so I was heavily influenced by a lot of Japanese robot shows. Texas history is like my Mickey Mouse. He represents Japanese robots, hip-hop and graffiti, all rolled into one character.
Вот бы скин на пистолетик в Чернобыле.
Is near and dear to my heart. I'm actually wearing some sneakers that represent them. I will let my friend Nicole here tee it up.
The Marathon Company, from a culture perspective, they've worked with some incredible folks, obviously led by Nipsey Hussle, you know, and we certainly want to honor his memory.
Nip was someone before he passed who was already into technology. It's such an honor to be able to carry on his legacy in a sense and bring them into the world of Blankos.
One Blanco can be so many different things. A Blanco can be a pattern, it can be a unicorn, it can be so many different characters. We work regularly with Kronk, his skill at being able to make you commit to those characters, they're believable. And then we have JPK, we have industry legends like James Groman, Nicky Davis, Tara McPherson, Battleground Chamako, Junko Mizuno, Hakutel, and Komatao. We're not just picking from one person's perspective, which really helps to kind of broaden those cultural references.
О, ты чё так быстро, бля?
I am an avid vinyl toy collector. I have just a house, floor to ceiling, vinyl toys. To find a game that did such a really great crossover between that kind of tangible good and have that element in the game, no doubt by the end of this time next year, I'm gonna have a whole row of Blankos. So. It's art in a 3D form. I think it's a really great online safe haven for, you know, street art, where it keeps its integrity and it is bastardized.
Или в карманный бильярд.
Whether it's on
Слушай, ты здоров? Или санитаров вызывать? Да вообще, знаешь, шел бы ты в задницу.
Кстати, забыл сказать.
And then you still see this coalescence of cohesion as opposed to a random vomit. Art exhibit games like Blankos, I think it's a really great like bridge between, you know, the traditional mediums of creating art, digital art, or
Чё, походу поиграем, раздали какой-то говно.
And that's cool, because I mean, all the elements that are.
Хотя один трек нет, я не слушал Мауза вообще. Тем более мертвого.
Anything else, weenies? In the back.
So now that the video is coming to a close, download Blankos, blankos.com, bring your vinyl toys to life, build your own levels, buy all the designs from your favorite brands, artists, and designers, share it with all your friends so they download and play it together, and we look forward to seeing you within the world of Blankos.
But wait, we're partnering with the fashion industry's most coveted brands to bring you their style, Blanko style. And our first collab is a name you'll recognize. They're known worldwide for their signature plaids and heritage prints.
Охуеть. Можно уёбчика в Гуччи нарядить. ЦМО. Что значит? Я знаю, что такое SEO, но что такое ЦМО, я не знаю. Где инвентарь вообще на Твиче? Это вообще что такое?
This partnership presents Burberry's first exploration into the world of NFTs. This opens up a whole new platform of possibilities, and it empowers digital natives and gamers to own a piece of our brand and actively engage and participate with our house codes.
Не впаривать свои игрушки, это правда. Это был Маркс Решфорд, кстати.
All right, you got the last word. Make it count.
That's a good question here. Let me give me.
Да реально какое-то говно упало.
Alright, guys, let's cut on cameras.
Чтобы получить награду, подключить свою игровую учетную запись.
You can download and join Blanco's Block Party now in early access on PC.
Like, share, and subscribe.
Also, watch your favorite content creators on Twitch this week for a chance to get an exclusive new Blanco, only available through Twitch.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
On behalf of all of us at Mythical, thanks for joining.
Scam,
I feel like you nailed it.
To E3 2021, and we'll get to our thoughts on Mythical Games here in a second. But first, we wanted to remind everyone that they could win a $100 gift card from our partners at DoorDash just by tagging them in a tweet and following them on Twitter. It's as simple as that. But Mythical Games, you know, I said
30-100 долларовых карточек на 100 тысяч зрителей, блядь.
Did you learn a little bit about the blockchain?
I mean, I learned so much, and honestly, the art was breathtaking. They were talking about how this is the evolution of modern art. I think deadmau5 himself said this is a safe haven for street art, and I'm honestly just blown away by the entire concept. You know, you were taking me like 101. It was basically like NFT 101, Bitcoin 101, all of this stuff like kind of went over my head. But when you broke it down for me, I think it was just so intimidating to me before. Like, I was like, I don't even know how to get into this. But then once you broke it all down, I was like, I understand the concept and the proof of authority. Like, this is amazing for us to have that. And then to just bring in art and entertainment and design, like, I'm here for it. I love it. But you're going to have to school me some more. We're going to have to do some private lessons.
I got you covered. But the one 15-minute presentation wasn't
you didn't get to see his. By the way, you need to make one of these, right? I saw your art earlier. It was phenomenal.
Stick figure art, amazing. Blancos, hit me up. Mythical, I'm all about it. But Greg, you know, at its core, though, let's not forget, Blancos Block Party is a game, right? And it has one of those types of Roblox experiences to it, where, you know, it's a make your own adventure type of game, and those are really picking up. Like, I know a lot of people want to knock on it, but Roblox is like one of the biggest games of all time, of course, and it's huge on YouTube and stuff. So it's clear that, like, this is a great direction for something like this to go where you can express your creativity.
Right, 100%. And I think that's what's interesting about it is their presentation was so focused on how NFTs work, what they're doing, the designers and artists they're partnering up with. It makes sense in the way of, hey, we want you to understand the business side of it. But for me, I was more, can we see more of the game? Can we talk more about the games? And I was talking to you about it, and it's that idea of like, well, you could, but you can make whatever you want in it, right? And that's what stands out to me, you know, as a Little Big Planet fan. Even for Mod Nation Racers, but then more like...
Mod Nation Racers.
Right? Right now, like, think about how Core is doing this, how Roblox is doing this. Get in and make your own games. The fact there's already been more than 20,000 block parties they're talking about there.
Вроде как в игре там что-то происходит,
It's like, it's early access right now. It's free to play on PC. It's one of those, like, yeah, jump on in. It doesn't cost you anything. That you don't have to buy a guy right away or do anything like that.
Yeah, a very, very cool concept. I'm very excited to see where they go from here. 100%, Greg.
100%.
And also, anyone can hit you up on Twitter for private lessons, correct?
Yeah, totally.
Just make the YouTube video of it, Golden Boy. That's all you need to do.
I'm just trying to get out of frame, guys. Okay.
I'll get you out of here. What do you do when you get one of the hottest DJs on the planet collaborates with one of the sick indie titles we're talking about? Well, I caught up with Jackson of
делают вид, что у них самих есть друзья.
To keep the party going for Blancos and the crew.
He talked to deadmau5. What?
Вы будете со мной играть в Бланкос Блок Пати? Роблокс, блин.
So how did this collaboration come about?
I think Ender forced it on.
Бля, опять они с ним разговаривают. Да сколько можно, ну?
We didn't want to work together again. We would.
No. It was all mandated. Orders from above, from our benevolent overlords.
So that's mostly true, but also, you know, we're in the video game world, we're in the NFT world. You know, Joel, you've done some cool stuff in it as well, right?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, I've been playing around with that, but I you know, outside of like, you know, the woo and wah of selling.
I don't care, нельзя писать в чате, лол. Там челики цифрами буквы заменяют.
With that same kind of video gamey thing, that was what really got me excited.
First time with Blancos anyway, where we kind of put somebody in the game and tried to create what their character was like. You know, it was pretty cool. It was cool to like figure out how we represented him as well.
What was the inspiration behind the Dead Mouse cross Blankos character?
I mean, from my point of view, I knew, like,
Похож на какого-то актера. Сейчас слезали с Fall Guys, да, есть какой-то сход.
We wanted to
represent
the mouse head, because it's such an iconic part of who he is and what he does. But we kind of didn't want to just do a modification to the Blanco. We wanted to make it a bit bigger than that. So it's actually the first time we've got a full
Скамги. А не, он don't care, don't want. Можно писать.
It'd be cool if when that head comes off, it's not Joel underneath, and it's Merrington's, and we kind of took a play on that, and I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was really cool that they didn't just schlep a mouse head on it and call it a day. I mean, they also integrated the cat, my cat, Meowington's, who I'm a big fan of, and just the fact that, it's like the mouse head, but when they take the mouse head off, it's actually Meowington's, which is pretty cool, because he's kind of all part of the Dead Mouse Joel ethos.
Yeah, I like that we repped through one of your early suits in it as well. That was a long-term fan.
Yeah, I stopped doing that. It was just too much effort. I like the first 2 or 3 shows, I did the suit thing, and I'm like, you know what? It's too much. It's too much. We're gonna strip it down a bit.
It's a cool throwback, though.
How do NFTs expand the reach of your brand?
It's a new technology and all that stuff too. So we're just going through the trials and tribulations of what is it? Because I think the general consensus right now, if you were to ask men on the street, oh, what's an NFT?
Еще не молодой бандит. Молодой бандит был убит.
Is kind of the answer you're going to get, but it's really a lot more than that. It's the underlying framework and technology that allows for the blockchain provenance, that unique identifier that can be used from platform to platform to platform. So
охуеть, 100 тысяч человек реально сидят, охуеть.
Is like the world's Steam, like, so it's every time you log into Steam or something like that, they're gonna use Steamworks to, like, grab achievements and stuff like that.
Чуть-чуть осталось, нихуя не чуть-чуть, до Индии игр, бля.
A similar concept, but
20 минут.
Across all computers and stuff like that. And because the way that the infrastructure works with blockchain is that's all very easily swappable. The metadata, not the actual assets, but the metadata that ties to the assets can be interchangeable between a multitude of systems. So now I think that people are just now starting to kind of take in that standard of fetching and receiving wallet data and stuff like that, tying assets to individuals through game platforms is a big win.
But then what are the benefits of NFTs for players?
So from a Blanco's point of view, it's about trust, really. If you boil it down, it's about trust and proof of ownership. No gamer has truly owned any asset they've ever bought in a game before. It's all just a license, right? And you kind of just trusting them. There's no way to prove it. Whereas with NFTs, you can it's proof. You can see it. It's open. If we say there's this many, there's this many. If you own it, you own it. And with Blancos and our marketplace, that means you can also go and sell it as well. So really, it's just about trust and truly owning the assets that you pay money for.
When's the first Dead Mouse Blanco drop?
This summer.
This summer? Like this summer or next summer? This summer. Oh, nice.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Now, let's get back to the show. One of the things I liked, obviously, in the Dead Mouse presentation here was him being very much like, why are you doing this with your brand? He's like, because nobody knows what it is. It's groundbreaking, it's cutting edge, and I like the idea of embracing something that, is this going to work? Is it going to translate to video games? Who knows? The other thing I like that I didn't call it from the original presentation, because I didn't get the presentation about NFTs from Golden Boy, So I didn't
you didn't get the special one-on-one.
But I really appreciate the idea that the original artist gets money on these. I didn't realize that. You make it, and I buy it from the marketplace, but then I sell it 20 times over.
You heard what he said, right? He makes one of the artists said, I make a piece, and then that piece gets sold, and then that piece gets resold, and then resold and resold, and that artist doesn't see the value from it. And I think that's something that a lot of people, can relate to. Like content creators can relate to that. Content gets reused all the time, and they don't see anything from that. And this is like a way through the blockchain to be able to ensure that through these smart contracts, you can do that. So it is beneficial for the creator, which, without the creators, we don't get a lot of these cool things, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Proof of authority in the blockchain.
Girl, there you go.
I'm proud of myself.
It doesn't work. I don't know what
proud of
that
her.
is. If you don't, you know what? Get out of here. Well, I hope you folks at home like indie games because we've got you covered. We are going to take a quick break, and then our Voices of E3 will discuss the indie gaming industry right before we reveal some of the hottest new indie titles releasing soon. So stay with us. If indie is the future is now. Ooh. That did not go as far as I thought.
My craziest E3 story is that I lost my wallet at the beginning of the day. I had this Pokeball wallet, and it dropped out of my bag, and I thought, well, that's it. My life is ruined. Well, I still got to get all this footage in. So I still did E3, and then I got a call from Lost and Found, and they'd actually found my wallet, and I felt like that was the biggest W of my life, because I had an amazing E3. I got to go to the Cyberpunk Lounge. I got incredible footage, and I got my wallet back.
As a part of Play For All, GameSpot will be bringing you the latest gaming news and announcements, interviews with developers, the biggest press conferences, and lots more. Play For All is our yearly online event that combines the excitement and announcements of E3 with charity live streams the following week with lots of special guests who are going to help us raise money for able gamers. So join us in June for E3 and Play For All on GameSpot.com, YouTube.com/GameSpot, Twitch.tv/GameSpot, and as a part of the E3's official broadcast. See you then.
篝火营地是中国领先的游戏媒体，创立于2018年，致力于为全世界的中文游戏玩家提供专业、精准、迅速的资讯情报。篝火营地立足于中国，与多家国际一流游戏媒体同行达成正式内容合作关系，源源不断地将最新鲜的游戏资讯第一时间带给全球中文游戏玩家。自成立以来，篝火营地在全网的内容浏览量已经超过5亿，服务了数百万的读者和玩家。我们的愿景是做游戏文化传播者。您可以在全球各大手机应用市场下载篝火营地 APP， 或者访问3w.gamebonfire.com 来加入游戏传播者的行列。
Face up. Вот это красиво было. Женщина.
Hi, I'm Ariko. I am a self-proclaimed Nintendo lifer. I want to work at Nintendo as long as they will keep me. I am head of indies, and I'm probably one of the handful of people who have worked in all 3 major regions, so Nintendo of Japan, Europe, and currently I work at Nintendo of America. I am super honored and excited to be here today. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mike Micah. I'm studio head for Other Ocean and Digital Eclipse. I've been making games for far too long, but my favorite games these days happen to be these really fun small games called indie games.
Hi, Michelle Branstetter, Director of Business Development for Freedom Games. I started in games long ago, PS1, Brew, even earlier than that. Love it, excited to be here. Thank you for having me, and excited to announce more games too.
Hi, I'm Edmund McMillan,
creator of Super Meat Boy, Binding of Isaac, and a bunch of other games. I'm an indie game developer. You may know me from Indie Game the Movie. Well, maybe not. It's 10 years old, but I'm here. Hi, thanks for having me.
So in recent years, and particularly over this last year, we've seen more and more people playing games. Indie games have filled the void of social and activities in the day-to-day life just as much as AAA titles. Do you believe that this line between indie games and larger publisher games is becoming blurred in the eyes of gamers?
It's becoming more of a drastic thing. Like there are super indies, and then there's this like marketable indie, which is I think a more acceptable thing that a lot of publishers are picking up. But it's kind of surprising. The real breakout hits tend to be the ones that aren't even being looked at by a publisher, that are just being picked up by, you know, going viral, essentially.
It's right to say that like indie seems to be the in thing right now. A lot of people are like, you know, indie games, go here. It's like a category. Go to the indie games category. But I do like the idea of blurring the lines, because when I was a kid buying software or downloading software or whatever you were doing back then, I would not disassociate what Jeff Minter was doing from, say, an Activision game at the time. And right now, when I'm sitting there like going through a storefront, I'm not looking for like specific things. Things catch my eye, and I see all these smaller games. There's so many of them now. But like, I'm actually looking for something that appeals to me.
Я жду, когда мне надоест, но почему-то это так смешно.
Sections in the store. I wasn't really looking for specific artists. I was trying to find that artist that spoke to me and take a gamble on it. I love that part of this right now. I love that somebody can still in their garage with all the engines we have now and all the help that you can get online and create a vision and then put it out there for people to either come en masse and enjoy, or just, you know, just come to take a look, and maybe you don't sell that many games, or maybe you don't like get that many downloads. But to me, that is what Edmund's saying is the quintessential indie in my mind.
I want to add to that, because at Nintendo we're definitely.
Но все это, естественно, без негатива. Как бы люди стараются, делают шоу, рассказывают. Это исключительно безнегативная такая интерактивная более.